Yes, people. So again, we're trying again. Had a bit of technical difficulties, you know what I mean? Trying to get Subaig Singh on. Just gonna try to add him again. Hi guys, how's it going? How do you turn off commenting? Turn off commenting, that's done. Comment. Oh wait, let me turn comment on for a bit. Yeah, just trying to and stuff like that. We're gonna talk about everything and anything, the past, the present, the future. It's currently doing hypnotherapy. I've had some sessions. First I was skeptical, but I know Subaig, he doesn't waffle. So when he said to me, try it, do you know what I mean? I tried some of the therapy sessions and boom, I had some major, major results with the therapy. And that's one of the main reasons I wanted to do this live. Do you know what I mean? So I'm just trying to get him on. Takes a few minutes for me to join people in. Once we get the show on the road, expect a good interview today, man. Expect a good interview. It's going to be live. I don't think Subaig's been on a platform for a long time now. Let me just. Yep, trying to invited. Hopefully it works this time. I've accepted it. Go live with Subaig. You're sent a request. Sorry guys, hold up, trying to get him on. What's been happening anyway? Yes, yes, yes. Finally, book, 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 book. Uh, the first time you've been do it on Insta Live.
Yeah.
Oh, no wonder. Yeah, yeah. I've got it working. What was that? What was the issue?
Ain't got a clue, mate. Ain't got a clue.
I
I
just
think,
turned off my Insta app and I started
I
it
think,
again.
I think it's your old school ghetto phone, bro. I think that's what it is.
It could be. I need to upgrade. Now I'm going to upgrade now, man. It
Yeah,
must be in it. I'm going to upgrade actually because this happens to me all the time. So if
yeah.
I'm doing Instas, I might as well upgrade, innit?
Yeah.
Nah, wicked, man. I
Yeah.
was just saying, MMA, Bhangra, doctor, comedian, now therapist. Not people don't know, but your company's set up and
Yeah.
running, ready to go. I was
Yeah.
just telling them I've had some sessions and we're gonna get into that later in the show. I said, no holds bar, man.
Yeah.
So shall I
100%.
turn the comments off? We could turn them on. I could turn them off and on later. So when we've done the majority of interviews, if there's any questions at the end, I can just turn them on. I know how to do it now. It's a 3 second job.
You know what it is? When I've seen on other people's live, when the comments come in, it's like my eyes keep darting on and you can't focus on the guy that's asking the questions. So that's why I said maybe turn them off. But like you said, yeah, we can turn them off. And then if people want to ask anything afterwards or whatever.
Yeah, so what I can do is when we can finish a category, then we
Or
can turn a
maybe,
comment off.
or maybe do this. Like maybe you can keep them on your end, and I'll turn them off on my end or something like that. Whatever, man. Look, yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
take it easy.
Yeah. At the end or after a topic, we've done a topic, I could turn them on for a bit, or we could
Yeah,
we'll see, we'll go with the flow. I'm turn them off for now.
yeah.
Uh, that's good. So the comments are off, guys, yeah, but they will be on because we want to focus on the interview
Yeah.
properly. So yeah, so this takes me back, man, because when I was doing the Lions, the SP stuff, the Lions heart movement, I think we was one of probably the first or one of the first guys. I hooked you up and we came to interview you in it. And
Yeah.
now, what is it? 16 years later, and we're here
16
again.
years later.
Chitti are here. Them days looking young, white hair now. Chitti, you know what I mean? So much has happened in them years, man. For
Yeah.
all
It's
of us,
like
really.
feels like a lifetime away.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
we're
it feels
here,
like another
and
life.
this is what I'm saying. Destiny. Who knows? People, people do their own little journeys, reconnect, connect.
Yeah.
It's beyond our comprehension what goes on in life. Thank God we're both still here.
I remember I had this first MMA fight, and I think someone put it on that forum, Sikh Sangat or something, and all I know is there were just a whole heap of things there, and then it was a wicked vibe, and then I remember after that fight I got a message from you, and then I
Mm.
remember you guys came to my yard, you guys came to my yard, and there was like a crew of these gangster things. These hood gangster things come down to my yard and that, and then they're like basically saying yo respect, and you gave me this prize, and I've still got that certificate in that framed certificate saying thanks for upping the spirits of the calm and stuff like that. It was that was really
Nah,
powerful, powerful.
no, it takes me back, but I'm getting shivers because
Yeah,
obviously we was gonna do. I'm matured now. I'm a dad now. Been through
yeah,
bloody 10 surgeries. I
yeah,
talk different. I'm more older, wiser, learn from experience. But them times are we was a bit we were from straight from the hood, so it was So
Yeah,
I remember the exact day, yeah. So I was in the academy. We had an academy in East London called Martha Said, Gore
yeah,
Academy. We had a computer room. I was in the computer room. I always used to be arguing on Sikh Sangat about this and that, there and this and that. We was hectic them times.
that
We was
was the
doing,
place. That was the place to be back in the day.
yeah. Rupee
Yeah,
was doing the R4G. We had Man Johal. He moved from Derby to London. He was
yeah, yeah,
doing his stuff. We had Mukkan and them lot doing the gym. We
yeah,
had
yeah.
Nittle Jar running around with his street guys, and they were causing havoc. We had Govan.
Man, Zohar, he's a Looney Tune as well, bro.
Yeah, yeah. So when I first saw the thing on Sikh Sangat about the fight, I
Yeah,
said,
yeah,
Man was next to me. I said, Man, check this out. Singh's fighting MMA, like full
yeah, yeah,
case study and that. He
yeah,
goes,
yeah,
it's
yeah,
up on Mundaya. He goes, I work with his dad. I go, is
yeah,
it?
yeah,
I go, you haven't told us about him. He goes, I didn't know that he's fighting. So
yeah,
he
yeah,
was shocked. He goes, I go, get all the lads together because we had a big firm in East London them times. We
yeah,
had the
yeah,
Sikh unit lads, my lads. We had Mukkan and his crew. Jajar's cousin Mukkan, Jajar was Mukkan's cousin. He had
yeah, yeah,
about 80, 90, 100 people, youth
yeah,
doing
yeah,
madness, causing a mock in East London. We
yeah,
had
yeah.
Gov, Tank, and all them guys. So what we used to do, we used to go to West London, the Nugget Keatons, and Millay and Police, all the West London lot that used to smoke with the Shan Sahibs. They
Yeah,
used
yeah.
to be like drinking with the Shan Sahibs, doing madness. It was Nugget Keaton Day, and we used to go and police it and stuff. And we had bare kickoffs fast, but
You were the go-to guy, bro. Whenever there was
no,
a problem, that you were the number that was called.
them times, yeah, yeah.
Any
But
up and down the M1.
Yeah, East London, we had a big firm them times. A lot of soldiers, a lot of fighters,
Yeah, yeah,
man. Like, it's a dangerous area, and even like the most geekiest people, they know the score. But
yeah,
there
yeah,
was we had when we turned up strong. You know what I mean? And it was Monet, everybody, man, all sorts of characters.
yeah,
It
yeah,
was crazy. So I remember that day. So I said to Manj, we're gonna go down. Then I told some of the West Midland Sings and stuff, and we all turned up. There's a big crew of Sings at your fight, and I saw your dad. I spoke to your dad. I said, "It's good as what he's doing." But you know
yeah.
what? When I think back about it, we like it was just a sport, but we took you as our role model, as our idol, as like the mascot of Sings, and that must have been a lot of pressure. What was it? What was it like, man?
Bro,
Like, was it
bro,
unexpected?
like don't
Mm.
get me wrong, I was a bit gassed myself. I was a bit hyped myself, but bro, like I'm just a normal Punjabi dude, bro. I'm just a normal guy who did a bit of MMA. You know what I'm saying. But
Yeah.
people, I respect the love that I got, and people, how can I say anything about people who went up and down the country? They believed in me, they supported me and stuff. But bro, man, the pressure, bro, swear down,
Mm.
like the pressure was on a different level, and it was like, look, like the thing is, like people were excited, and almost too excited. It's like people
Yeah.
were kind of putting me on a level, like trying to like make it out like I guess because I was fighting, people automatically associated with like Sikh warriors and like Shaheeds and stuff. I was like, bro, like relax, man. Like I went to a private school, and
Mm.
I had like a very sort of like middle class upbringing. I went to uni. I was a doctor at the time. Do you know what I mean? It's like chill, bro. Like this is my shonk. This is my hobby, and I'm just doing MMA. I'm just a normal guy doing MMA. I'm not some kind of Sikh warrior, some kind of icon, role model, and stuff like that. A lot of pressure, and to be honest with you, I think that pressure on people has decreased somewhat now, because there's a lot of great Sikh fighters coming out now, a lot of martial artists coming out now, and stuff like that. A lot of people have done some good stuff, and but that pressure still exists for Sikhs that are competing. Even Punjabis that are competing, they put their heart and soul into these guys, and they it's like the great hope for the Sikh people in combat sports and stuff like that. And I think people they just need to just chill a little bit, in a sense, because you get this thing where like people will support you when you're winning. People used to coming up and down the country. Why?
Mm.
Because they wanted to see a Singh batter someone. Basically, that's what it was. They wanted to see a Singh smash the hell out of someone. That's why they were there. But if the Singh got smashed the hell out of, which is inevitable in combat sports, yeah,
Yeah.
then it's like, oh nah, Basty man, Jalous, Basty, we don't want to see this guy, we don't want to be this guy. Do you know what I mean? And obviously you're gonna get beaten. You're a human being, and
Yeah.
you're a flawed human being, and for me, martial arts was a hobby. I did it as a way of de-stressing. I did it for self-defense. I took it seriously, but I wasn't somebody who started martial arts age 5, age 4, which is what you have to do if you want to become a champion. You have to start at like 4, 5, 6 years old. And I started late in life. I had my first fight when I was like 25. You know what I'm saying?
All right.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah, that's late in combat sports. How far realistically are you going to get? you know. And
No, you can be a good fighter, bro, but if you don't understand the craft, the business side, there's a lot more to MMA than just turning up in the ring.
oh, big
And
time, big
yeah,
time.
and you probably didn't know any of that, really, or your dad or anyone, right? Because you was
Didn't
like,
have a clue. Did
no,
not
no,
have
I don't
a
think the
clue.
community had a clue at that time, innit?
No, no, no.
Mm,
No, no. I mean, all this stuff you learn later about the game. You learn about how to pad your record, how to take easy fights in the early part of your career, build up, do loads and loads of amateurs from a young age. You do amateurs, and all the mistakes you're going to make, you're making your amateurs. Maybe have like 50 amateur fights, 30, 40 amateur fights. And then when you start your pro career, you work your way up through the level of opposition, and you try and keep your record clean. You try and take on easy opponents. If you lose a fight two easy opponents, then upgrade and stuff like that. This is all the business side of it. Um, and not only that, it's about selling tickets. So it got to the point where there was so much pressure and so much stuff going on, where I had to stop telling people that I was fighting, because it was kind of getting to me as well. And there was that massive sort of pressure with the promoters to get this number of tickets and stuff like that. It was tough. It was enjoyable, and I got to be. I don't want people to get it twisted. Like, I got a lot of respect, and to this day, I get a lot of respect. So I don't want people to get it twisted. What I'm trying to say, but it's important that people hear understand the other side of it, and don't make
mm.
the mistake with future Sikh fighters. Support them whether they win or they lose, and just understand that this is something that you need to start from childhood. Focus on the younger generation, bring the youngsters up, fighting. Start martial arts at the age of 4, 5, 6 years old, and then build them up.
No, there's quite a few fighters. Obviously, I'm not following all of them, but you got the
Yeah,
Bassi from East London, Dylan Cheemers. There's been a few doing bits. But the Kira Sahota, I think he was inspired by you, innit? A lot of youth at that time, because I,
yeah,
I
yeah,
was doing the Sing Row page. You
yeah,
was the
yeah,
poster boy for the Gorm at the time,
yeah, yeah.
and well, it's a pity you didn't start a bloody a club. You would have been a millionaire by now, because everyone would have rushed there them times. You know what I mean? So it
Yeah,
would have it was
even now,
hectic.
even now, like
Mm,
running a club and stuff. I don't know. I like doing it. I like training more than I
mm,
like coaching. If I was going to coach and teach, I think
mm,
my skill set, my knowledge, and stuff like that is best suited to training people one to one, as opposed
mm,
to running a club. I myself have always preferred to be trained one on one with privates and stuff like that, and I prefer to train people one on one. I can really zone in, focus on one person, see where they're weak, see where they're strong. So I'd be happy to do one to one training with people. Um,
mm.
but not so much the group classes and running of a gym. It's just I'm a bit of a perfectionist, so I'd like to do a good job with people. You know what I'm
Yeah, so if they give you the code MAU10, would you give them a discount?
saying? No discounts here, bro. I've done enough Seva in my time. My Seva days are over, bro.
Uh,
now we've got to bring in the P, bro.
uh, nah, fair play, man. So what you up to now? What training you doing these days? What you doing?
Huh?
What you doing with the training and stuff like
Training,
that?
bro. I've just got back to training because I actually overtrained. I made myself ill, so I
Mm,
did that much. I've been doing that much training. Because
mm,
even though I stopped competing a long time ago, I think my last fight that I had was about 8 years ago. That was a Muay Thai fight. But training for me is a way of life. But the last year has been very tough. I've been very ill, and I
mm,
think that's because of overtraining. And it got to the point, basically, I've only just recently worked out what it is. I've got something called cortical depolarization syndrome, and
mm,
I've got abnormal electrical activity in the brain. It's like having a constant migraine. You're fatigued, you're tired, you have
mm,
headaches, you can't get out of bed, and it's like chronic fatigue. And I've had to take some medicine for that. And so it's only sort of more recently now, in the last 4 or 5 weeks, I've actually restarted training. But prior to that, if you saw me about a year and a half ago, top shape, ripped, shredded,
mm.
strong, and but just was just doing too much, doing too much training.
Yeah, overtraining. I've read about that. So guys who are not familiar with it, overtraining is when you're doing too much volume, you're not having rest days, you're not recovering properly, and you just got to the muscles break down. And it's not just about muscles. The central nervous system, it needs rest, it needs recovery, and so make sure you plan recovery days. Get your foam rolling, get your massages in there for your muscles, and obviously, at night time, get your sleep properly, eat your diet properly to prevent this sort of stuff. Search it up online what you need to do. So that's crazy that you went through that, Anna.
Yeah.
So, which martial arts do you rate? Like, what are your best martial arts?
And what's the context? Are you talking about
So,
how do
like,
you?
just say someone came to you and says, like, Baji, I want to do martial arts. I want to get in shape, or what would you recommend? Because there's some bogus martial arts that people say, fake martial arts or pseudo martial arts. Which category do you personally rate, or you think, yeah, if you're gonna train a combination of these, or train one of these?
Bro, it's that we could talk about this all day. Yeah,
Yeah.
if you get 10 martial artists in one room and say what is the best martial art to do, you're literally gonna get them fighting over
Oh,
which is the best martial art.
bit like
And the reason
doctors in the punt, innit?
yeah,
Yeah,
100%.
same.
And it's literally like because martial art is basically it's a form of art. Now, artists, they're very bitchy, they don't like each other, they're always shitting on the next man's art. Everyone thinks that their art is the best art. That's human nature and it's the nature of arts. So
Mm.
with this question, if you've got a bit of time, I'm happy to answer it. But it's all about context, yeah. And what is the person's context? Why do they want to train? Do they want to train because they want to become a professional MMA fighter? Are they training because they want to handle themselves in the street? Are they training because they're a police officer? Are they training because they're a doorman? Are they training because they're a soldier going to war? Are they training because they're a secret agent? These are all different contexts. So people within these different contexts need a totally different skill set.
Oh,
So for example, somebody, so to give you an example, somebody who's like, let's say from a council estate, East London, where
mm,
everybody's pulling out blades and choppers and all this kind of stuff,
mm,
boxing probably isn't going to be the most useful thing. So for
yeah.
somebody like that, they might need to be good at knife fighting. Somebody who is a normal upper and up Punjabi, 16, 17 years old in a college, and they're likely to just to have sort of like college fights or nightclub fights, something like boxing using their fists, might be useful for them. Somebody who's a police officer or a doorman and they're going to be doing a lot of restraining work, something like judo, wrestling, jiu-jitsu, that kind of thing might be more useful to them. If you're in Kabul or in Afghanistan or something like that where everyone's got a gun, you better be good at shooting, you know what I'm saying? So it's all about context. So if somebody asked me what's the best martial art, the first thing I would try and find out, and the first thing I would ask is what are you training for, and what do you want to be able to do, and where do you want to be able to do it? And then on that basis, I would then, recommend it. Um,
No, so there's people who need to contact you personally. But just say, okay, let me get another question. I've got two boys. Imagine they're 5 and 6. I ain't got a clue. Should I put them in judo, Muay Thai, boxing? What should I put them in? What would you advise? Someone with kids, plain slate, they ain't got a clue what they want to be. What martial arts should we put them in first, or what do you
yeah.
reckon?
So again, it depends on what you want to do for the kid. If the kid wants to become a pro MMA fighter, or the kid just wants to defend themselves, all these things are taken into account. Generally speaking, if I'm keeping it simple, because most parents haven't got a clue, I'm telling you
Mm.
what I would do if I had kids and what I would put them in.
Yeah, that'd be good.
I would put them straight into wrestling or judo. That'd be the first thing I'd put them in, and I'd probably put them in at the age of like as early as possible, like even like sort of 4 years old, 4 or 5 years old, something like that. I'd put them straight into wrestling, straight into judo. Reason being, um, these vertical grappling arts, they've shown their dominance within MMA, and that's been a great testing ground for martial arts, and those guys do very, very well. It'll make them strong, it'll make them explosive. It's very innate, it's very, very natural. So stuff like boxing, Muay Thai, BJJ, all fantastic martial arts, but they require a lot of fine motor skills. And I'm not saying wrestling doesn't, but wrestling's easy to pick up. Judo's more technical, um, but the kind of explosive strength, the kind of gymnastic capability that you get from that, and combat ability is next to none. Um, the other thing I would say is that if you look at from say the Sikh tradition, because obviously
Mm.
the main people that ask me are kind of Sikhs and stuff like that, is that if you look historically, the main kind of martial arts that Sikhs did, they would have done some kind of a weapon martial art, which let's say I'm going to broadly put it under the umbrella of fencing. But fencing
Mm.
just means fighting with a weapon. You could call that Gatka, you could call it Shastavidya, whatever you want to call it, but fighting with weaponry. And the second main one was wrestling. Everybody wrestled. It was just standard because you're fighting with your weapon. You come close together, then all of a sudden you're grappling. Normally you're grappling for a secondary weapon or something like that. So wrestling is, I would say, is a very key thing to learn. And I would encourage everyone to do wrestling and do wrestling first. After that, as they get older, I'd move on to start teaching them striking arts. I would look at boxing, Muay Thai. I'd look at BJJ as well. There's plenty of stuff. Sometimes it's down to what they're actually interested in. But I personally, if I had kids, I would start them off with a good, solid, 5 to 10 year base of wrestling,
Wrestling, yeah.
wrestling or
Because
judo.
some fights do end up on the floor as well. How about I'd probably do wrestling and boxing as well, innit? Boxing's quite,
But
it's a
boxing and wrestling together, a
good combo.
grappling art and a striking art is a fantastic combo. So boxing and judo, brilliant combo. Boxing and wrestling, brilliant combo. Some kind of a striking art combined with a grappling art. It's both all bases covered really. You
Yeah,
know,
because when I used to get into
for
fights,
majority of cases.
yeah, when I used to
Go
get
on.
into fights, I used the weapon mainly. But if once or twice when I did do kicks, I didn't do high kicks. I would do a sweep or kick to the knee. So doing this taekwondo and stuff, people are just gonna grab your leg, man. I've seen it so many times. You know what I
Happened to me in a school fight,
mean?
and in
Yeah,
fact, it happened to me in MMA fights, and it's not nice. You feel vulnerable when your leg is grabbed, and it's
yeah.
it's a
It's game
jalous.
over, isn't it?
It's
Yeah,
yeah,
it's game over.
it's and you get properly mugged off when someone grabs your leg. So and fighting on the streets, you're on one leg. I see, you got jeans on, and then people grab. You don't need much training to grab a leg. It's like grabbing a ball. Someone threw a ball at someone, you can just grab it. Kicking, it's got a place, but for me, it's lower down in the pecking order.
Yeah. Oh, if you pull off a flying kick or a high kick, yeah, and it works, and you knock the person out. All the girls are going to be after you. You're going to be a film star, Van Damme, innit? You know what I mean?
Bro,
If you pull it off, but it's risk to reward is quite dangerous. Yeah, because
I tell you, impressing the girls should be the last thing on your mind when you're in
I
the
know,
street.
I'll leave us
You gotta,
I'll
you
try
gotta,
a bit of
you gotta, you
banter.
gotta, you gotta survive first. You
Nah,
might not
because you
make
know
it.
what? In school, yeah, the man's that did pull off a kick, yeah, all the girls are like, wow, wow, try you. We fancy him like they thought it's Bruce Lee and shit.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Innit?
yeah, yeah.
Oh man, it's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The,
So
the, the, the other thing I would say in terms of context, things have changed. So, I train with anything and everything. I keep it very broad, and I am literally interested in every single martial art, traditional arts, sporting martial arts, combatives. So, combatives is basically like the spear tip. So, combatives is basically the two or three techniques you're actually going to use in a street fight. And you've got to be first. You don't wait to get attacked. You got to, if you think something's going to go down, you got to be first. Yeah. So that combative side of stuff is very very important as well.
yeah, because when I grew up, yeah, we grew up. First, I used to get bullied. I was a victim. When I turned 18, I said, I'm not living like this because I would just walk and you just get mugged, you would just get punched. I grew up in a rough area, so before I was just a victim. I had school fights, don't get me wrong. Sometimes I did fight back, but it wasn't like one track minded that I'm a warrior or I'm gonna be like this. So when I turned 18, I lived by a code that I call the honor code,
Mm.
where if my honor is disrespected, I'm a wimp. So I'm gonna fight, die for my honor. I don't care about the police. I don't care about jail. I don't care about how many ops they got, what weapons they got. I'm gonna die. And if I run, I'm gonna come back with a better tool or my crew or whatever. But I am not gonna be the loser. I'm not gonna be a victim again.
Yeah, yeah,
Then obviously we got the castle code in it, and the castle code is you've given your head. When there's you don't care about death, you don't care about prison, you don't care about consequences. You gotta fight for what's right, and all the Singhs are shaheeds. They've done it. They're hearts of lions, hearts of steel. And then you've got people that do survival code, which is they don't they let some stuff go because it's not worth prison, and they're not willing to give their head for the cause, but they will defend themselves and this and that. Do you want to elaborate what you think about these codes or anything on top of that?
yeah, yeah. I mean, that's very very interesting and very very
Mm,
well put. So it comes down to
mm,
context again.
mm.
It comes down to what you're training and what code. And I think this is very important because a lot of people get very very confused about this. A lot of people have got one leg in and one leg out. People don't know to stay in their lane, and it's very important for people to stay in their lane. Who are you? What you're doing? Like for me, like I said before, I come from a middle class family. I was privately educated. I did a medical degree. For me, the honor code thing, like
Mm,
for a street guy from the hood, somebody's looked at me wrong, someone's told me to my mum, or something like that, and I have to respond because the whole hood is watching, and if I don't say anything back, then
weakness.
people are going to see me as weak and all that kind of stuff. That's like an honor code. I've got to reply with honor. If someone turns up to your yard, I have to reply. I have to give a jawab, that kind of thing. It's not feasible for somebody like me, and from the upbringing that I've had and the family that I've had. So for me, although I totally understand why it would be for somebody else, um,
Mm,
for me, I would say I live in what's called a survival code. So my code is basically all about avoiding problems, avoiding trouble, avoiding beefs. And sometimes, people say stuff to you, and you just gotta let it ride. It's not always easy, but you gotta control your ego, road rage. I don't swear at anybody, because even if you have an unarmed fight with someone, yeah, let's face it, you could die in a street fight.
yeah, or brain damage, or lose
Yeah,
your sight.
punch,
Anything can
punch,
happen.
punches kill. Yeah, punches can
Mm,
kill. People can stamp on your head, you kill.
mm,
But that's just unarmed fights. Now look at the world that we're living in. Look at the streets, the madness people have got, pulling out scorpion submachine guns, zombie knives, machetes, and stuff like that. Anytime you have a road rage and you get out of your car in order to respond with an honor code, you're potentially either looking at getting jailed or you're looking
mm.
at getting killed. Yeah. So
It's not worth it.
for somebody like me who lives in a what I would call a survival code, I'm not gonna. Nobody should engage in combat unless you are ready to go to jail or you are
Mm,
ready to die. Yeah. If you're not
mm,
prepared to go to jail and you're not prepared to die, you shouldn't be fighting in any situation. And if you're defending yourself because someone's attacked you, then you should defend yourself, but in the full knowledge that even in defending yourself, you could die or you could go to jail, because you
yeah.
might get unlucky. You might have a court case. You might accidentally kill the guy, or you might use lethal force, and the judge doesn't like the story, and then you get locked up. So everybody's got certain things. Everyone's got certain red lines, and somebody in the hood might be ready to kill somebody or really hurt somebody over a more minor level of disrespect. But for somebody who's living a survival code, there are not many things that I would cross that red line or be willing to cross that red line for. It would have to be, if somebody's kind of a direct and dangerous threat to me personally or to one of my loved ones, like one of my immediate family members, or my little babies, my little nephew and niece or something like that, and that's it. I'm not here to die for the month or give my life for the month. There's a lot of people who will say that they're ready to die for the month, and then when it's time to do something for the month, do a mission or a move, and then they don't pick up their phone, or they run away halfway, or they snitch and they
Mm.
buckle, or
Oh yeah.
their family put so much pressure on them that they start crying and stuff like that. There's a lot of people like that, and even with friends, you get Punjabi culture, isn't it? Bravado. People will kind of like pat you at Goina. If you need anyone, we're there. You
Hmm.
just let me know if you have got a problem. One phone call, and when there's actually a situation or a phone call, it's like, yeah, sorry, gotta go, or don't even answer the phone. You know what I'm saying?
100%. Yeah.
So that's what I'm saying. So a lot of people are
Pumping it.
confused. A lot of
Mm,
people are very confused about what lane they are in. Some people call themselves Khalsa, but they're not living the Khalsa code. Some people, they play gangster like they're living an honor code and stuff like that. But they're half-hearted. They like to present themselves like they are doing that, but they're not. I personally think Punjabis in the UK, most Sikhs, most Punjabis are educated. They want to get up in the world. They don't want criminal records. They don't want to die. They really need to just stop all this bravado, call it a day, and just kind of just relax and just kind of play a survival code. Do what you need to do to keep yourself and your family safe, and just leave it at that.
any home defense tips? Because loads will talk about civil war, this and that. Obviously, the criminals, they're gonna have whatever they're gonna have in it. But like I said, people that don't want to break laws and stuff. Any tips to keep the family safe if a civil war does break out or something? This is if the zombies come, if it was, you know what I mean?
Well, it's interesting you say that, because I'm pretty convinced that there will be a civil war.
Wow.
All the ingredients are there. The political conditions are there. The sectarianism within society is there. The economic conditions, the cost of living, the frustration. You see the way the right wing Gore are going on now. They've just had enough with immigrations. They've had enough with
Mm,
with Muslim people. The right wingers have, and they are on a warpath. They're kind of preparing the ground with a lot of radicalization, a lot of podcasts, really. And these things, history has shown us, these things only go one way. So I don't know if it is going to happen, if it's not going to happen. But if you were to walk by a can of leaking petrol with a cigarette, I don't
mm,
think you would do that. But if somebody was to go past a leaking petrol tank with a lit cigarette, there's probably like a 95% chance that it's going to go off. But it might not go off. But I think the risk factors are there, and as far as what precautions people need to take, bro, I, I don't want to go into to spelling out details of what they should get, what they shouldn't get, but let's just say in the UK there is a lot that you can have. There's a lot of stuff that you can't have, but there is a lot of stuff that you can have, provided it has another dual use.
mm,
There are lots of things that are legal to own. Provided the reason that you give that you own it is something else.
mm,
It's a tool. It's a tool. It has an agricultural role. It has a hobby or a sports role or a martial arts interest role or something like that. If people want to keep stuff legally, but so I don't want to tell people that they should do this or they should do that. Uh, People should be doing something, because it's the duty of men in particular, but the duty of everyone to make sure that they protect themselves, that they protect their families, they protect their homes. So I think it's rather than me spell it out exactly, get this, get that. People need to do their own homework, do their own research, look at what they can and cannot have, and make their preparations accordingly. Everybody's got to have a game plan. That
mm,
game plan, everyone's got to have a real sort of rules of engagement kind of a game plan. When people are walking around the streets, they need to decide what they're going to respond to, what they're not going to respond to, what they're going to get involved in, what they're not going to get involved in. And With regards to altercations, beefs, they need to have a game plan as to what they're going to get involved in, what they're not going to get involved in, and same applies to home defense. So with me, I'm very very clear with people that when it comes to, I grew up in the era, same era as you, that people would ring up and they'd ask you to get involved in this mortgage, that mortgage, this Pontic thing, that Pontic thing. I was just like, nah, I'm not doing it, And
mm.
I didn't want to be one of these people who was half-hearted and they would say they're going to turn up and then not turn up. I didn't want to do it. I wasn't interested
Yeah,
in it. I know, I
rather
know,
saying no.
I know I'm not a Khalsa. I never claimed to be a Khalsa. I never claimed to be somebody who's going to do X, Y, Z for the month and stuff like that. But I've got a very, very clear code. So the people that I tend to fall down are the people who are not clear about what their rules of engagement are, what they're going to ride out for, what they're not going to ride out for.
Oh man, I bet some people got the tissue box out and crying now. So, this was my idol. He was a castle warrior. I don't want to be hearing this. Bro, you broke a lot of hearts today, bro. Lucky the
Yeah,
comments are off, man.
yeah. Yeah, people's gonna say he's a sellout and sellout and stuff like that.
Yeah, so
But
we're
nah, bro.
talking.
But the thing is, it's not unique for an MMA fighter to say that. Just because you're an MMA fighter. Well, I'm not. Look,
Mm,
I'm not a fighter anymore. I stopped fighting.
mm,
The last fight I had was 8 years ago. Now I'm a martial artist, right? But it's if you speak to most professional MMA fighters, do you think they are hunting pedophiles or they are, fighting an insurgency somewhere or doing some hardcore stuff or doing some gangbanging and stuff like that? They're not. They're just doing their fighting. Most martial artists are not, vigilantes doing X, Y, Z and doing mad missions and stuff like that. There might be a few that are. There probably is odd one or two, but they're not. Majority of people who do something like that, they kind of they have a cause. They have some burning desire. They have a strong emotion or a strong feeling that they have a cause. And if that's them, then they do them. I'm not going to get in their way or something. But I'm not. I'm just not that thing. And I wish more people were just honest and clear about it. I think with Punjabi Sikhs, they got the whole Jat thing, you got the Punjabi thing like the Jats Anak and Badala and all this kind of stuff, and you got the Khalsa culture, we've got the warrior heritage. But the thing is, it's like what's your phrase when everybody wants to be a Khalsa until it's
boys,
time to do
the castle stuff, innit?
until it's time to do Khalsa stuff because we've all been we've all heard those stories, we're all inspired by those shaheeds, inspired by those stories and stuff like that. But look at the houses we're living in, look at the lifestyles we're living.
Mm.
You know, and as soon as you do something, it's like your parents teach you all this. You go to, you know, your parents teach you the stories of Banda Singh Bahadur, Hari Singh Nalwa, and as soon as you step out and there's some Beadbi going on, there's a morcha going on, and then they're saying, "Chup karke baja karnu," you know, we're not having any police come into
Mm.
the house. You know, "Chup karke padhai kar, get a job," and all this kind of stuff. Don't get a criminal record. So it's like, you know, if that's the reality of your situation, then why are you making it out like you want to do X Y Z or you're gonna do X Y Z? You hear what I'm saying? I don't.
Nah,
What do
yeah.
you? How do you feel about
Yeah, I'll say to the youth who's ripping down Subaig Singh's posters in the rooms, I will give you the refund. Don't worry.
that? But look, you look. Without saying too much, you were active, right? So
Yeah,
what were your experiences in that sense? You know, we're working with modern day Sikh youth, young people in this country that were also active in certain things.
bro, I saw bare fakeness, and like once we done a mission, and the guy was the getaway driver, so I left him at the getaway driver. I don't want to talk too much about him, killing myself, but we done the mission. Went back to the car. The bloody car's not there, so he's shat his pants, but he's left us in the lurch. Lucky I didn't knew at Gala's house. We left, so no one forced him to be the getaway driver because we could have kept the key in the car and stuff. I know, and bro, I've seen so much. Once I was at a park and there's a couple racist guys and stuff. There's about 30, 40 of them. And I had but we was 30, 40 Singhs. I ran towards the other guys, yeah. I looked back, no Singhs ran. And I was running towards them with a knife. And they had a dog. They had machetes as well. Then I ran towards them. The two police officers there, I didn't care. I just thought, these lot have come to attack our people, this and that. There was a lot of racial tensions them times and that. And I looked back, none of the Singhs ran, man. So, yeah, when I took my umrah,
Why if you're not there to do the business, then why turn up? Why get out of your house if you're not
this
going
is
to do
what
the
I'm
business?
saying. So people think that when they come out, they have to think, hope nothing happens, hope nothing happens. But I'm gonna show face, and they're praying that nothing happens, nothing happens. But when shit goes down, then they're stuck, and then they just freeze, innit? So a lot of pecan, a lot of fakeness. There's so much I can tell. Do you know what I mean? But then the show's gonna be about me and this and that. But what I'll say, yeah, there's a lot of fakeness. You got to keep it real. What you can do, what you're not capable of doing. Look, half these mods, when they all get arrested, they're all grassing each other, because they can't take the pressure, you know what I mean? And then they all fall out with each other as well. So, when Baba Deep Singh drew that line, innit? And that's real.
Sun Tzu, the philosopher on the art of war, he said something. You know, in order to be successful in battle, you need to know your enemy, yeah, and you need to know yourself, yeah. So you need to know what kind of pressure you can handle. You need to know how you're going to react in certain situations, and you got to be just honest with yourself. You know, this game is not for everybody. And if you're somebody who's going to crumble, they're going to cry, they can't handle jail, they can't handle the stress and the fear, and that's it. We're all, everybody's different. Everyone's got different abilities, capabilities, and like I said, some people just need to be doctors and lawyers. The world needs warriors. The world needs doctors and lawyers. The world needs everybody, all kinds of people. So everybody, I think
Yeah.
everybody just needs to stay in their lane, and with our kind of the way we teach people about being warriors and stuff like that, it's fine. I understand that, especially with youngsters, and we need to draw inspiration from our warrior heritage and stuff like that. But people need to be very, very clear um, what people are supposed to do with that information. Be very clear that, okay, I'm educating you about Sikh history. I'm educating you about Shaheeds. I'm educating you about Sakiyan stories. What do you want me to do with that information? That a youngster will say, and just be very, very clear what their expectations are, because people grow up hearing the stories, and then when something happens, and their parents, are basically on their case, and or they're crying in a prison cell, can't handle jail or this or that. Or they can't handle the consequences of an altercation. This is not a joke. People go to war, they lose limbs. People end up in wheelchairs. People lose eyes. I think people need to stop romanticizing and glorifying. A lot of people glorify violence, glorify combat. This is not something to be glorified, in my opinion. It's the last resort.
Yeah, because when I first got into the band, I came from a rough estate.
Yeah.
So there was loads of killers, man. Loads of killers, loads of stabbers, loads of stuff. There's one guy, yeah, his name was, I forgot the name, yeah. There was a geezer called Dread. He done loads of killings, yeah. But there was this other guy. He used to dress as a woman, go into the club with a silencer gun, and just shoot his enemies point blank, dressed as a gala. He dressed as a blonde wig, big red lipstick, put the fake breasts on, shaved his legs, yeah, put a dress on. I swear he done about 20 killings and stuff. Yeah, we all knew what he was doing. Yeah, he was just dropping his ops. Like, eventually, someone snitched him. I think his girlfriend snitched him. He got caught and he done 30 years and stuff and all that. Know? So
Yeah, yeah.
all the people that grew up around me, they were capable of violence. What you see is what you get. They don't talk shit. So when I came into the bunt and I went to round spies, I went here. I saw mans with like bow and arrows, kitted up, about 20 trusted on the Damala, the Chakra, saw Peshka, Qatar, shields, this and that. And I thought, these mans are the real deal. Because I was naive, because I didn't grow up with things. You know what I mean? I grew up with totally Gale, Jinn, all sorts, There was
You
no
took it. You took it proper serious,
so
yeah.
I thought, yeah, man, I need to join this, man. Then I read up on the history of cards. So obviously, I came to Sikhi for a spiritual path, yeah. So I wasn't in through 84 grooming or not in warrior stuff. But
Yeah, yeah.
before I took Umrat, so I'll do my spirituality. Then when I took Umrat, yeah, I took it serious. I thought we're gonna carry on Guru Gobind Singh's mission, huh? We all got criminal records anyway, and so we might as well carry on and fight the groomers, fight this, fight the racists, fight this, fight that. When I saw it, the religious people with the crossbows, with the bloody, they were asking us for help. So it was like I had to go to Macaulay for help. I had to go to like Mantage and them lot. They were just normal drug dealer money. Randy, they were drug dealer money. You know what I mean? So it was like, yeah, that's why I say cosplay. And you don't get many people that look the part, that they are the part. It's a fancy dress on a dance pipe, fancy dress on a like on a hung program. But the thing is, they act it so hard, innit? Forge this, forge that, forge this, forge that,
Mm.
and it's become a mockery. And now a lot of other things are seeing it, and the women are seeing it, and this and that. So I don't know, bro. This is maybe too many people are taking Umred, or they don't understand Umred, because in my view, from what I read about the history, you can be a Sage Tari Sikh, you can be a Santa Pagat, you can get to God. But once you take Umred, you have a call of duty. You've took the immortal nectar of still double Khande Bataka Umred. You've joined Guru Gobind Singh Ji, Kalpur Ki Forge, who gave their sons for righteousness, justice. All the Shaheeds, all the Khalsa army, they joined the missiles. They didn't live long, bro. They while they were alive, they couldn't see oppression, they couldn't see tyranny, even against the odds, even if they were outnumbered, outweaponed. They said Ser Jawe ta Jawe, Mir Sikhi Sikh na Jawe. And Sikhi Sikh means not just defending Sikhs, it means defending the oppressed, the poor, the Kashmiri Pandits. With Guru Tegh Bahadur Ji gave his cease. Guru Arjan Dev Ji made a stand, he gave Shahidi. You know what I mean? I watched a live by Kamarup. Guru Nanak Dev Ji was put in prison. Guru Nanak Ji spoke against Babar. Guru Nanak Dev Ji, Kamarup was saying, was Shastari. And he said there was actually a Muslim guy who was Guru Nanak Dev Ji's friend. And the Muslims told him, the Mughal Empire told him, you better leave Guru Nanak Dev Ji, we're going to kill you. And he was the first Sikh that got Shahidi. I forgot his name. Do you know what I'm saying? So, it's goosebump shit, man. You know what I mean? It's like, so he was the
Bro,
first
I don't know.
Sikh.
I don't know anybody like that, bro.
Yeah. So,
I've read about people like that, but I don't know anybody like that, bro. Never met anybody like that in my life. What you're
So
describing.
even in the 80s, there was a Noor Singh Babbar, right? So he was hanged upside down, and when they were torturing him, his eyes, he was doing a rare ass. He didn't show no pain. So obviously, he's got a lot of Gamai because you can get into the 10th gate, you can get into the spiritual realm where you're
For
not
real,
feeling
for
your
real.
body, and the gurus have proven that to us. Yeah,
Yeah,
people
yeah.
might say, "Oh, hocus pocus, mumbo jumbo, this and that." But if we understand what the gurus were, what the power of Barney is, if you actually do Barney and have spiritual experience, you can see that you can leave your body. This ain't no mumbo jumbo stuff. I know seeing is believing, and I get that, Hannah. But the thing is, we all look the part. Who is actually doing the Barney from devotional Prema Bhakti, the real deal? We might do it at the programs to look good and to fit in with our friends, or when we go to a party, we might sit there, close our eyes. But who's doing it on their own?
Yeah,
Not missing their nickname and really taking their nickname to
yeah.
heart and doing their meditation, their 2-3 hours Simran, trying to clean that barb, that mal, trying to really get back to the divine presence. The ancient Singhs, they had Bani, they had Shakti. There wasn't all talk, arguing on forums, arguing on the internet. They were the real deal, bro. Not all of them left their body. Some of them felt pain. They're not going to be that many Brahmgyanis, but they had the courage. They were the real deal. They took the Amrit serious. They said, We've given our head where our guru needs us, whether he's on earth or not, because the guru is the Bani, the Shabad guru. Wherever the Pant needs us, we're there. And there were proper Surme in 84. 84 is complex, but there was some proper Surme of Darsing Brahma. There was some soldiers that went out on fault helicopters, because they thought they were doing the right thing. The politics behind it, this and that, is fine, but there was a lot of oppression from the state as well. It was a lot of, that's a whole topic in itself,
Bro, I, I guess a lot of people. I'm a Sage study Sikh, bro. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm a Sage study. I'm a liberal Sikh. I'm not militant. I'm not super religious. I believe in the Sikh faith and stuff like that. And the stories that you're saying that you're telling are inspirational. For you know it, but the kind of people that you're describing, like, these are not people that I know, you know what I mean.
Yeah.
These are people like, I've read about in books, in textbooks and stuff like that, but that's about it. It's to be respected, I suppose. Those are like, role models and stuff like that. I think there is one thing that I have noticed though is that, because I love history and I am a student of
Mm,
history, right? And I do find that, we kind of big up like the positive parts of Sikh history quite a lot. And
mm,
I've got to be careful because I'm not like a practicing Sikh and stuff like that. People say I've got no right to talk about the Sikh faith and Sikh history and stuff like that. And they probably got a point, to be honest with you. I probably haven't, but I feel like, I have a right to have an opinion. I'm not
mm,
on stages doing Qatar and stuff like that, trying to be a role model and stuff. But just as a Sage study Sikh, just as a normal person, I feel like I have a right to opinion about Sikhism and about Sikh history. And I think that there are some dangers with kind of overhyping aspects of Sikh history. I think when you're teaching kids Sakya and stuff like that, you just keep it all positive, inspirational, because they need to have some roots and stuff like that. But for me, if you want to understand or learn about anything, whether it's 1984, whether it's Sikh history or whatever, you really have to read both sides of the story. Yeah, very important, because if you don't read both sides of the story or read all aspects of it, you get a very blinkered view. If you only read one side of a story, that's not really history. That is in fact propaganda. So I think you need to read the bad stuff. You need to understand the bad stuff. And I think that if the community is going to progress in the future, then you not only do you need to read about the bad stuff, you need to analyze the bad stuff, and you need to learn from the bad stuff for the future. So, take 1984 for example. I grew up learning all about 1984s. My name is Subaig Singh. I was named after Major General Subaig Singh and stuff like that. So I was brought up with a one-sided story about 84. And then as I was growing up, I read every single book under the sun. I tried to read it with an objective mind. My opinions on 1984 are no longer objective. I've made up my mind and I've made up my stance on it. But when I approached the subject, when I read the subject, I read a lot of stuff that made me very, very uncomfortable, bro. I'll be honest with you. And then when I've read other stuff from Sikh history, there's a lot of stuff that I've read which again makes me feel very, very uncomfortable. And I
mm,
feel like what's lacking in the Panth, in the community, and even amongst academics, is that there's not enough analysis done on the mistakes of the Panth, the losses, the defeats of the Panth, and how the Panth can learn from this and move forward. And that can only happen. For example, yourself, right? I mean, I'm a fan of your videos. I really enjoy listening to your videos. And a lot of people think you're negative, to the extent that people think you're RSS, or they think you're a Fed, or God knows what other
mm,
names they call you, right? Like for me, you're. I'll be honest with you. You are like you are what I would describe as a proper Singh. Probably
mm,
the closest person that I know that I can think of that I would say, now this guy is a Singh. Because you speak the truth, you stand for the truth, and a lot of the stuff that you say is actually pretty negative and pretty
mm,
kind of pretty damning on the Panth, yeah. And if I'm honest, like, I think if you're a real Singh or a real Banda or a real person, how can you not be negative about what you're saying? How can you not be negative about the Panth? Look at the Panth which Guru Gobind Singh Ji created, and look at where we are now.
mm,
So to me, negativity is important. You need people who are whistleblowers. You need people who are critical, negative, and you need people who kind of give checks and balances to what's going on in the month and stuff like that. You know, you need these people. They play an essential role. And you know, I understand it's not for everybody's cup of tea, but if you just promote one side, all the positive stuff, all the good stuff all the time, how are you going to address the issues that exist, and um, how are you going to improve for the future?
Yeah, you can't live in cuckoo land. You need a reality check,
Yeah,
innit? You know what I
yeah,
mean?
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Like if your kid's upstairs, yeah, and he's smoking weed every day, yeah, sitting there playing video games, then he says, "Mom, I'm gonna make money. I'm gonna be a millionaire. I'm gonna." Okay. And a month goes past. Mom, I'm gonna be a millionaire. I'm gonna be a millionaire. He's
yeah,
smoking
yeah,
weed, dreaming about it. One day you're gonna have to slap him. Tuki kada, you're not doing nothing, man.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Millionaire, you're a budhead, bruv. You're
yeah,
lazy. You
yeah,
know what I
yeah, yeah,
mean? Get the F up and get out there and do something, and you're gonna have to get his weed, put it down the toilet, give him a few slaps, and tell him, jog on, learn from your shit and carry on. You know what I mean?
yeah, yeah, yeah,
So, you know what I mean? So, you know, when a teacher tells you off, sort this out or you're gonna be a failure, you're gonna do this. This is your reality. You don't do
yeah,
your
yeah,
homework, you're a bum. If the teacher says everything, oh well, we kid, yeah, it's all good, yeah, you're all gonna get A stars, you're gonna get A's.
yeah,
And
yeah.
you know, no one's pulling the weight. So you have to have a reality check. You know, a lot of
Don't get me
people
wrong.
don't.
You need a carrot and a stick when you're motivating kids or you're motivating
Yeah,
people.
one hundred
You need
percent. You need to be
you don't want to.
positive.
Yeah, you don't want to destroy people and destroy their self-esteem and stuff like that. But when you're dealing with deluded people, sometimes you have to really go in hard with the criticism, because
Oh,
you have some really deluded people out there. And coming back to sort of my field, martial arts and combat and all that kind of stuff, it's like, you know, you wouldn't send somebody into an MMA fight, a professional MMA fight, if they'd done 2 weeks training. Yeah.
no
So,
way.
and you're telling these youngsters and kids that you're warriors, you're killers, you're this, you're that. You got warrior DNA, whatever the hell that means. You got warrior blood running through your veins and all this kind of stuff. And you're gonna send, and people genuinely believe that they are warriors, Khalsa warriors, and they've literally never picked up a weapon in their life, never thrown a punch in their life, not even had a fight in the playground. You know, they've got no experience whatsoever. You know, and how is that person going to be qualified to you know, you're actually setting people up to fail. You're setting the expectations on people. You know, so like I said,
Um,
I kind of experienced that doing the MMA. You know, I was a novice in MMA. I had my first fight when I was 25 years old, and yet here people were trying to big me up like I'm like, you know, as if I've had 30 battles and I've got like you know, 50 bodies under my belt or something like that. You know what I'm saying?
oh, bro, yeah. Talking about making people bigger than they are. There was a Baba Sung incident. The geezers pulled a blade out on the main road, not used it, threatened another kid or whatever, and bro, they recorded it and put it out to the internet. Oh my god, bro! This is what this
This is
is what the
recent?
suka pump and the cosplay and is creating. The ones that think they're on it, even they bloody snitched themselves, and they're meant to be streetwise and they're meant to be the on it guys, bro.
Yeah, yeah,
When I saw that, I was like, call it a day, man. Let's call it a day. This band, let's just go back to the drawing board, man.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Signed and sealed to the. Oh my god, we was the opposite. We was masking up. We was doing shit. We didn't want it. We didn't want no praise for it. We didn't want no cameras, no CCTV, fake names. When you do a mission, which start out, yeah, it's Amajit that's done it. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
These
yeah, yeah.
guys put it like they're feeding each other cake on the main road, high street, cops, everyone walking past. Where's my money? Yeah, give my money. Yeah, are you gonna pay me? I'm gonna juke this in the blade. Bro, I nearly had a heart attack, bro. I was like, is this real? I thought it was comedy, bro. I thought it's gonna be like some sort of slapstick comedy, or these new influencers or something, or some joke. It was the real deal, bro. So yeah, you're spot on,
Bro,
bro.
you know, you do a lot of youth work and stuff like that. You just teach the kids to. I think it's important that they learn martial arts, especially if they've got kids, they've got judo and stuff like that, because they're going to get bullied, right? Do some
Mm.
martial arts and stuff like that. But I think, you know, people should, you got to look after the kids like they're your own kids. Don't use the kids, use and abuse the kids, send them to this mortar, that mortar, use them here, use them there, and stuff like that. You know, we are immigrants in this country. Our parents didn't come to England to come and die for the bonds and stuff like that. They literally came here to make money and to advance their lives. You know, let's be smart. Let's use the system to our advantage. Let's integrate. Let's not forget who we are. Let's strengthen the bond. Let's strengthen it. Let's empower it. Let's improve it. Let's expand it. Increase the number of people in there. All this warrior stuff and going to war and we're going to do this and we're going to do that, bro. Like, just we need to get the basics right, in my view. Like I said, look, I'm not a good sick or anything like that. I'm just a
No,
normal
no,
dude.
no. It's
I'm just expressing my view on it. So for me, as far as the punt is concerned, I don't really engage, bro. If I'm honest.
No, I would just say, look, if someone is serious and they want to die for the bunt, they want to do Seva, or they see Maharaj being ripped, whatever, just don't bitch after. Take it on the chin. Whatever, if you've done something for the bunt and you're facing jail time, or you got stabbed up, or you got shot up, or people are
Yeah,
coming outside your house, take it on the chin. Be a man about it. Don't cry after. So think before you act. When like Baba Deep Singh crossed that line and said, "You're not gonna come home today." When my Pago said, "You're not gonna come home. You're not men. You abandon the guru." So if you want to go on down that path and it's in your DNA and you want to do that, just make sure it's something you want to do and you're not gonna cry or snitch other things and stuff after. Make
yeah,
sure you are the real deal. Don't lie to yourself and don't lie
yeah,
to your guru. The guru's on Tajam, he sees it all. Don't put on a pretend thing, get hype, do something, and then you're in jail. Because when you regret something or you're in jail crying or you get scared, that time is 3 times harder to do, bro. Do you know what I mean? And
yeah.
Guru
I mean,
Kripa, I'm not, yeah.
yeah. I mean, if I was to bring that back to my own life, 15
Mm,
years ago, 16 years ago, I had MMA fights. Last fight was 8 years ago. People have asked me, why don't you compete now? Why don't you fight now and stuff like that? Number one, I've been there, done it. If I really wanted to, I could. Once I've got a bit better, if I really wanted to, I could do it. I don't feel like I've got anything to prove. That hunger isn't really there. And I think if you're going to jump into the ring and fight, you really need to have that hunger there. But bro, like I'm 40 years old now, and for me, it's about training for longevity. It's about training for self-defense. And bro, this is a risky game. Number one, it's going to be an 8 week or a 12 week fight camp, so I'm going to have to just fully focus and dedicate myself to training non-stop. I'm going to have to do a weight cut, and when you get in there, you could be blinded. I mean, in sparring, I've got a detached retina in my left eye. I nearly went blind. I've had broken ribs, broken nose. So I'm mainly training for fitness and for self-defense. How can I defend myself if I've bust an ACL and I'm on crutches for 6 months? I can't defend myself anymore. So for me, um, I am very, very clear that I am not a fighter anymore. I am not competing anymore. I don't want to take those kind of risks anymore. For me, it's like I said, it's longevity, it's self-defense, it's fitness, and it's hobby, and I enjoy the art. You know what I mean? So coming back to what you said, obviously, I know that fighting in a ring or a cage is not the same as sacrificing your life for the bunt and doing crazy moves on the streets and stuff like that. But don't get into the ring unless you've accepted the risk of serious injury, accepted potentially the risk of death, and accepted the risk of humiliation. You might flipping do a Bambi dance when you get knocked out, and then you might have a fit on the floor and get put to sleep. And these are the things which can happen if you get into a ring, just a simple ring. And if you don't like those potential consequences, don't do the act. And like they say, if you don't want to do the time, don't do the crime. In the crime world and stuff like that. That applies to a lot of different things.
yeah, bro. Another thing I noticed, Punjabis, man, they just spar so hard, man. You can't spar that hard. You're gonna end up brain damage because every time you get hit, yeah, it's an ego fest, isn't it? Even in sparring, they
Yeah,
can't help each other do their skills properly. It's
yeah,
ego. Let me hit. I can't let him beat me in a spar. The Muay Thai people in Thailand, bruv. They play spar, bruv. They don't, they might have one hard spar before a match, but they're not doing 20 hard spars in that year, bro. You might do one every 6 months just to get you prepped for the match, or one round before a match, because that's gonna take its toll, bro. Then brain cells are dying, bro. There's been studies, science on this, man. You know, bro, man. They need to learn the art of tactical, skillful sparring. What's your views on that, bro?
couldn't agree more, bro. I mean,
Yeah.
the martial arts world is very much divided on that. You get
Mm,
some people, no, you got to hard spar, you got to rough spar, you got
mm,
to, you got to train as you're going to fight and stuff like that. I'm personally, I'm totally against that.
mm.
I think George St. Pierre, one of the best MMA fighters ever, he said that a lot of MMA fighters, their career ended in the gym. They end their careers literally ended in the gym, and people have developed brain damage and stuff from just years and years of hard sparring, and they got slurred speech and all this kind of stuff. People. It happened to me before my first
Mm,
fight. I listened to some people that I shouldn't have listened to, and they put me in like some really really rough sparring, and I got a mad bruise on my shin, which became septic before my very first fight, and I ended up in hospital on antibiotics. And people thought I'd faked it. People thought I'd just bottled it and chickened out of the fight. So before I had my first fight that you came to, people put me through some stupid full contact, stupid sparring, and I couldn't do the fight. So I would say, with regards to hard sparring, my opinion is that it's an essential part of the training process because you've got a pressure test, but it's a very, very small part of the overall picture. You need to have the experience of some hard sparring. If you've got a fight coming up, you need to do some hard spars for sure. But it's like, I would say it's a bit like medicine. When, as a doctor, when you prescribe medicine, you give the minimum effective dose and no more. Because you give more than the minimum effective dose, then you start getting side effects and stuff like that. And it's the same with sparring. So I would say when you're prescribing sparring to a fighter, you give them the minimum dose that they need in order to feel confident and fully prepared for that fight, and not a single round more.
yeah, so we're talking about your upbringing and that. There's two things I wanted you to talk about.
Go on.
So people might not know that you went boarding school, and
Yeah,
boarding school ain't a joke. Rugby, tough in sports, it's competitive. There is fights in boarding school as well.
yeah.
You've probably been through more shit in boarding school than most people did in public school, man. So just talk about growing up, bullying, your experience in the boarding school, and would you recommend boarding school to people that got the money to send to boarding school?
Um, bro, look, I'm not going to try and make it out like a private school is anything on the level of, like, say, your school in your area, or
Mm,
some of these, crazy schools in inner city areas, and rough sort of like state schools, comps and stuff like that. I'm not going to try
mm,
and pretend that's the case at all, yeah, because it's not, man.
mm,
And those guys, those schools are wacky. You got kids
mm,
taking knives into schools and stuff like that. What I would say about private schools, about boarding schools, is that certainly in my day, I don't know what it's like now. Yeah, I really don't know what it's like now. But when I was there, it was strict. Yeah,
mm,
old school and strict, very traditional. The teachers come in, you stand up,
mm,
and then you get permission to speak, and there's no cheekiness. The discipline was on point, and the timekeeping. You had to be on time. You get blasted if you were late. You have to be on point with your work. You have to be polite. You have to be very well dressed. Top buttons undone, shirts tucked in. We had military training in school. We learned military training. We had adventure training, and so it was strict, it was tough. All the youngsters had to play rugby. Rugby is a very tough sport. It wasn't like now on iPads and video games. You couldn't say,
mm.
"Oh, I'm feeling ill today, sir. I'm not gonna." It was like, get your PE kit on now. If you haven't got your shorts, you're gonna go out in your gacha and play in the snow in your gacha. You know what I mean?
In
It
the
was, it
snow,
was,
yeah.
it was raw. So I'm not gonna say it was super violent, but it was a tough environment, and it prepares you for life, in that sense. Certainly, the kind of lives that the people that go to private schools and boarding schools are likely to encounter. It makes you tough, and it makes you very disciplined, and so that's a plus point. Um, and the other thing I would say is that you got to remember, with regards to education, it's not just about your grades and your play. People think, oh, you don't need to go to a private school and stuff, and they're thinking that it's just for exams. And this is an education for life. You learn how to speak properly, you learn how to dress properly, you learn how to write properly, and all the other things that go with it. You got swimming, you got all variety of different sports, different seasons for different sports. If you're good at art, you've got ways to express. Some people are kids are better at different things. Some people are really really good at art, and they can really develop their art skills. Some people are really good at drama, and they can really express their drama skills and then go into drama later life. Some people are really good at music, play amazing instruments, and they really go down the music route. So people get developed as all rounders in boarding schools and in private schools. Like I said, we had military training, we had shooting. So you have some great facilities in a lot of private schools, some of the bigger ones, and you really kind of you get a good grounding for life. So if you ask me, I would say if you've got the money, I know they've added VAT now, which is which
Mm.
is crazy that they've added that. So the fees are not a joke now. But for the people that have got their money, I would 100% recommend going and educating your kids privately or send them to boarding school. What I would say is for Sikh kids, um, if you if you send your kids to a private school or a boarding school and you don't give them any contact with Punjabi kids, Punjabi culture, Punjabi language, you are literally going to create some weird coconut type of kids who are just totally disconnected from their community. So I was lucky in that sense that we went to a private school, and it was very middle class environment, and we were very sort of well integrated into British culture, British middle class culture. But at the same time, we learned harmonium, we learned kirtan, we learned tabla, we learned gatka. We went to Punjabi
Mm.
school. We went to a youth club. We've got SCYS youth club in Nottingham. So we were around other like-minded Sikh kids and stuff like that. And I think that's essential. To because otherwise you're just not going to know anything about your culture, about your religion, and stuff like that.
Yeah, that's interesting because your dad started the Sikh, was it Sikh Community Youth Service, and that went to Birmingham, went to Slough, and growing up in a proper youth center, like how the Gala and Gore have youth centers, and for up in here, that's amazing. I think that would have helped a lot of people stay grounded to their roots and knowing other Punjabis in the area. And you grew up in Nottingham, right? So you
I
didn't have
grew
much.
up. I grew up in Nottingham, and we're very lucky to have what you described, Sikh Community Youth Service. And my dad was a key figure in that. There were some other prominent people, Janak Singh and a
Mm,
few other people who got together. And what they found was that there was a big gap in terms of development of Sikh youth, Sikh young people in Nottingham. The Gurdwara at the time were really not interested in investing in the youth. They just wanted the Gurdwara to be something for weddings and a pass, and that's it. So they were not really interested in that. So the creation of the youth club using local council funding and stuff like that was a very important and very welcome step in Nottingham. And I have to say, I feel very blessed that I grew up in Nottingham and I grew up around the people that I did grow up with. I've seen I've got to be careful how I say this because I don't want to offend anybody or anything like that. But having spent time in other cities with Sikhs in other cities,
mm,
Sikh young people in other cities, I, I don't feel as comfortable around them and at ease around them compared to the people that I grew up around in a youth club setting. When I
mm.
met a lot of Sikh young people from places like Coventry and Birmingham and Southall, Slough and stuff like that, I found that don't get me wrong, there's good people and bad people everywhere, but you could see that the lack of that youth club culture there, made some challenging some people who'd grown up under in challenging situations and under challenging circumstances, and they were, to sort of put it nicely, a bit rough around the edges, within their manners, their personalities, their personal conduct, stuff like that. And I felt that when I used to go to Sikhi camps, boss camps, and stuff like that. I felt that there. So the Sangat or the Sikh people that I felt the most comfortable around, generally speaking, are the people that I grew up with in Nottingham, centered around this youth service, this youth club, because I think it's a problem for the entire country, to be honest. I mean, there used to be youth clubs everywhere, and a lot of people used to grow up, not just Sikhs, used to grow up around youth clubs. And when you grow up in a youth club, you grow up differently. You have a bond, and you have responsible adults around that inspire the young people, and they try and keep them on the right path, and they try and develop good characteristics, character traits, and stuff like that. And if you don't have that, then there's a big gap there.
Yeah, so people listening, man, start a youth club in your area. You don't have to mix it with Sikhi. You can just get them, be loving to them. So they've got role models because a lot of kids can't chat to their parents, or they're in the wrong, pressure groups, peer pressure. So when you see them coming, you don't need to force Sikhi down their throat. Maybe do a bit of Simran at the end, or maybe a Saki here and there too. But the more than that, just show them that you're there for them. And if you can't afford a youth center, rent a hall. All the people can just chip in. A hall is about what, 30, 40 quid for an hour once a week, or the Godwara can give you a spare hall and just call it a youth club. Put
Yeah,
a bit
yeah.
of pool table.
It's like in Nottingham. We used to have a permanent place then, and it was
Yeah.
kicking. But even now, even though we haven't got that anymore, the guys in Nottingham, they hire out Monty Hind Youth Club. There's this youth club, and now all the people that grew up in that youth club, they all bring their kids, they bring their wives, and they do play table tennis, they play sports, and there's banter. It's a good laugh. Um, and you know, I mean, I think it might be different now from when I grew up. You know, I think there's a lot more youth stuff going on now. So I haven't got direct experience of it, so I can't say how good or bad it is. But what I used to find was that with the Punjabi community in other towns, you either had people who were like super religious, like next level religious, and almost kind of like cult like within their Jathabandiyah. And or you had people on the other end who were into drugs, smoking, and bad stuff. You didn't really have too many people in the middle, like sort of like balanced people. You know, I think having that, I feel like having that middle ground, that youth club sort of a culture, you get the benefits of good sangat, but you also get the benefits of it being a bit balanced and not too extreme either way. You know, where you got all kinds of madness, crime, drugs, and all that kind of stuff, alcohol, and then on the other hand, sometimes these groups which are super religious are sometimes a bit judgmental and not that welcoming.
Yeah, 100%. We're halfway through, yeah. I'm just going to open up the comments for any questions regarding these topics. And then if no questions or whatever, then we'll move to the second part of the interview.
Yeah.
Turn commenting on. Yes, guys, any questions regarding anything before we move on to the second part of the interview? Anything? I think they're just probably turned on. Nah, nothing. Okay, so we'll just move on to the second part.
Yeah.
Yes, Harmeet Singh, my G's. Yes, respect, brother. Wonderful interview. Two brilliant role models, man. Respect, out of control. What are the mechanics of this youth club culture you keep pushing? Well spoken, gents. Satya Singh, respect, brother. The mechanics of the youth club, we explained that already in it. Just, unity, growing up with like minded people, having a role model there, growing up with Sikhs. Good content covering. Yeah, it's halfway. We're halfway through, guys. So we've got more stuff coming. Right. We're going to carry on to part two. I'm going to turn the comments off, and if there's any other safe people sending love hearts, yes. Yes, Nav K1 joined. Respect, brother. Right. Just going to turn off the commenting. Right. Part two, yeah. So now this is so I got married. I was in Derby. Yeah, I was chilling. I was at my father-in-law's house, and then obviously the marriage ain't worked out. So ex-father-in-law's house, yeah. And then I think I was doing the dishes, right? And I don't think I had a leg injury them times, yeah, or I might have been just limping. It was early days actually. The TV's on. He's like, Mal, come here, Mal, come here. Subaig's on the telly. Subaig's on the telly, yeah. I'm like,
Yeah.
shut up. I went into the room, yeah. And then it's like, I thought I was expecting the MMA fight and shit. Because obviously,
Yeah.
when I got married, I locked everyone off. I changed my number. I left the Sikhi scene. I'm living a family life. I've had fights all my life, man. I just needed peace and break, yeah.
Yeah.
Jeddah
Yeah.
found marriage is probably worse than the beef on the street. It's that hard, yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm looking at it, and then I see you on TV, bro, singing about some
Yeah.
girl on that. Yeah.
Yeah.
So then enter. So you've done the MMA. I was like, it's a sort of warrior. See, now he's thinking about girls and got
Now he's a
girls in the
Ranger.
video. Like, what's
Now he's a
happened? Bro?
Ranger.
My poster. I ripped up the poster that I had of you, tucked it in. You still get a broken heart. My heart was broken, bro, and I start singing along. Nah, joking. So what happened, man? You went to the music scene. What going with that? What was that about?
Bro, like it's funny because when I first became famous, I became famous when I was at uni. I was a proper joker at uni, right? Like
Mm,
when I got into MMA, people were actually shocked, like, who him? He's doing MMA. They just literally couldn't believe it. I was known for bhangra. I was known for singing funny bullies, and I made up this famous bully called the Trent Uni bully. Which is about sort of girls at Trent Uni, the bimbos at Trent Uni, and stuff like that. And I was a proper joker. I've always been into performing, bro. Like when I was in school, we had a strong performing arts culture, and I was in bands. I played the drums. I used to sing English songs. I used to sing Tom Jones covers, and I used to sing Punjabi songs and stuff like that. When I was at uni, I had a band. We used to sing old school Punjabi folk songs. So before I used to do MMA, music, singing was a big part, a huge part of who I was, and so for me, it was just me. It was just who I was. Um, but for I guess for people who saw me as some kind of hardcore sing MMA fighter, warrior, or something like that, to see me singing folk songs, love songs, stuff like that must have been a shock. Like, what? He's lost the plot. And I actually heard people saying, "Bloody hell, the guy's lost the plot. The guy's just gone nuts, gone crazy, and stuff like that." But they didn't really understand who I was or what my journey was. So um, yeah, it was always in me, and I remember in the uni days, I wanted to sing, but the the producers in those days had so many nakare, like you just couldn't get them to produce your songs for you and stuff like that. So I just totally just gave up on it, and I started sort of singing just a cappella covers on my Facebook and stuff like that. And then Popsy got in touch with me, Popsy the Music Machine, famous guy, and then one thing led to another, and then and then I told my mum that Popsy, I've been talent spotted by Popsy, and my mom's a businesswoman. We make a record label. We
Mm.
copyright it. We got a logo, and then bang, we're releasing tracks. We're releasing worldwide tracks. We're going to India to shoot music videos. Absolute whirlwind, bro. So I started off singing like that first song, Tere Chuti Ani Lare, which was a really old school traditional Punjabi folk song. And then over time, over a period of about 7 years, I was releasing 3 or 4 songs a year, and going to India, doing music videos, and I was doing reggae tunes, and I was doing English tunes, and yeah, complete whirlwind, bro. Amazing, amazing experience.
Yeah, but it's grimy as well in the music stuff, innit? People must have said he's got Korea dancing, he's got this, he's a mascot, what's happened, that's corrupting the youth. But that's the music world, right? That's what sells.
Bro, like I said
Mm,
before, I never said I'm a Sant. I never said I'm a
mm,
Khalsa. I never, I've
mm.
always said I'm a liberal. I'm a Sage study Sikh. Yeah, and I'm just a Punjabi guy, and that's it. And I've always said that from day one.
Yeah,
And
you got kind of forced to be the mascot without your permission, really, innit? Back in
yeah, yeah,
when
yeah.
the MMA stuff happened, you kind of got pushed to a corner, I guess, and
Yeah,
we was
it was
probably
like
yeah,
I had to. It was weird, and I was kind of glad when I left that world, because I literally felt like I couldn't be myself. I literally felt like I had to be this serious guy, this MMA fighter saying, and like this serious guy all the time. I'm thinking, this is actually hard work, because I can only be serious like that for about 2 minutes before I want to do some dance or something like that, or before I want to do some beatboxing or
gotcha,
something. You know what I mean?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. It just wasn't. It just it's a part of me. I'm not a complete joker all the time. When I need to turn the fight mode on, when it's go time, I can do go time as well. But when it's
Mm,
in peace time and it's chilling, I'm a joke. I like doing comedy. I like dancing. I like singing. And so there was that pressure. But in answer to your question, the music industry, bro, is
mm.
very, very toxic.
Yeah,
Extremely
Punjabis
toxic.
pulling each other's leg down, just like the fun. They see someone climbing, people start hating, start spreading rumors, jealousy. Um, um,
100%. 100%.
yeah, extortion goes
100%.
on, gangsterism goes on, everything goes on. Look at Musa
Yeah, yeah,
Wallah and
yeah.
all that, innit?
Scam artists, it's
Yeah,
cliquey, there's cliques, it's petty, and our artists are very bitchy as it is. They're all trying to mess each other up, screw each other over. It's also very, very fake. It's a fake world, in the sense that when I entered the industry, there's no money to be made in the industry at all. Unless you're in like the top 3, 4 singers or something like that. And on the UK scene, UK singers weren't really getting any gigs. They would book people from India, the stars from India, to come and do the gigs. So it was very difficult to get live shows, even. And where you were going to make your money, you weren't really selling CDs anymore, and everything was downloads. People were just downloading for free, and it was very hard to make a living off it, very hard to make money from it. It was a toxic scene. And to be honest with you, um, I wanted to do Punjabi folk, traditional Punjabi folk music, which I loved. And
mm,
when very quickly, when I got into the industry, people were saying, "Listen, right, yeah, this Punjabi folk thing, right, is out of date. Nobody's listening to it. You need to modernize." And I remember I had this experience in India, 2017, and this was literally when Sidhu Moosewala had released his first track. And I remember walking down the street in India, bro. Yeah, you got to remember, this is India is dingalingaling land. Yeah,
mm,
dingalingalingaling. That's
mm.
India. That's what I knew India growing up as. Yeah, and I'm just there, and I'm walking in. I think it's Ludhiana or something like that, in about 9 o'clock in the evening, and all I hear is boom,
Hmm.
boom, 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 bass line like that, boom, like that. And I look, and there's like a guddi with tinted windows, and there's some guys there, some up and air, couple, one or two got pugga on, couple of them on there, shades on in the middle of the night, yeah, and they're there, and they just go like Ali,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. And I thought,
Mm.
bloody hell! I thought, am I in Ludhiana or am I in, am I in like flipping Smethwick or something, or am I on Soho Road or something like that? With the guys boom, boom, when they're doing this gun fingers and all this. I'm thinking, yo,
No way.
and bro, that guy Sidhu Musewala, he changed the game overnight. And I'll be honest with you, Sidhu Musewala, he was a legend. You got to acknowledge the talent, but he wasn't my cup of tea, and he wasn't the reason why I got into Punjabi music. Because for me, my feeling was that if I'm going to do Punjabi music, I want to do Punjabi music. And if I want to do Kala music, then I'll go and do rap or I'll go and do reggae or something like that. But obviously, he merged the two together. And as great as he was, as great as his music was, his lyrics, as great as his career was, the way he blew up, I feel like Punjabi music lost its uniqueness and it lost its individuality and it just went down a whole sort of different trend and a different tangent. And obviously, when you're in the music industry like I was, then you got to keep up and then you end up doing music which you're just not that passionate about, which you're just not feeling, and you can only do that for so long. Constantly trying to keep up with the trends and all this kind of stuff. And I just got lost in it, and I was just doing music which I stopped enjoying after a bit, and I
No
thought,
passion. Yeah.
it's
Probably
just
felt
just
fake. Did it feel fake a bit?
big time fake, bro. Big time
Mm-hmm.
fake. I mean, there's an element of me because I've always sort of been good at acting, good at performing and stuff like that, so I can fake it as well.
Mm.
But it's not what I wanted to do from the get go. And
Yeah.
when you have to start changing that and you start doing stuff that you don't really want to be doing, taking it down a tangent you don't want to be taking it down, you stop enjoying it, and the hunger goes. And now my hunger and passion for music is completely dead.
Nah, fair
Completely
play.
dead.
Yeah, that's why,
Dead.
yeah. But Musa Wala and them lot, so he's done the other B anyway, because from changing the light bulbs, which is our culture, he's gone to Gunfinger, Jamaican blood clot, black stuff.
I'm
So
telling you, bro.
yeah,
I'm telling you, Punjab
we
was bingling.
bro,
Punjab was
all our
bingling.
Punga, change the light bulb. Even the Gaudia, when you teach them Punga, you're like, change the
Yeah,
light bulb, just tend to change the light bulb. And
yeah,
now
yeah.
it's black, Musa
Yeah.
Wala and that.
I mean, I don't want to be
Yeah.
too harsh on the guy and stuff because the guy changed the game. He's a legend, and
Mm,
he made it mainstream. He did big collabs with some big guys. He brought a lot of attention to the bug, for example, and both Diljit and Sidhu have done that. So I've got to be fair to the guys. I'm when I'm talking about people, if I'm not really I'm talking about my journey, my views, my journey,
mm.
how I felt. But for me, I just thought, like, come on, guys, like, you got different genres. Where's Punjabi music's individuality gone? You've just totally deaded it, just totally deaded it, and you know,
Yeah, changing the light bulb, man. Changing the light bulb scene. That's not on,
that's
man.
it.
That's not on.
That's it. We want the
Obviously,
light bulbs back. Bring the light bulbs
yeah.
back.
Anyone that's doing gun fingers in a Punga track, fatwa out for you guys.
The thing is, I tried not to do gun fingers in my tracks as well because like
Mm,
gun fingers is like one of those things like it actually has some meaning. It's not something that you really want to be faking. You know what I mean? And I remember some sort of it's a form of cosplay in a way. And I remember certain music producers in Bombay and stuff like that, Mumbai now, they were telling me to do this, and I said, bro, like it's a gun sign. You know what I mean? It's a gang thing. And I'm not too keen on being associated with that.
yeah, talking about you said like comedy. So let's come to the comedy skits now. The comedy phase. So we've had the Doctor, we've had the MMA, we've had the Punga, Doctor, we've got the therapy left, we've got the comedy stuff. So bro, the comedy stuff, man, I saw the crossbar one that was hilarious. Bro, every couple years that got sent to my WhatsApp by 3, 4 people, there be a surge. It goes quiet for a bit, then there be a surge. I know someone kicks it off. I've talked loads of people in the next generation have sent it to me, and they've seen it. And they go, "This geezer, why did he stop?" But
Yeah,
then,
yeah, yeah.
bro, some people thought, the committee one. When you done the committee, they thought you actually a real pardon, innit? And they said those death threats. Tell us, man. What God, tell us.
Oh, bro. Well, I don't even know where to start, bro. Bloody hell, that was surreal, bro. Bloody hell. I don't know what made me more famous. That I think more people know me from my comedy skits than they know me from MMA and they know me from my music. I spent thousands of pounds flipping trying to
Mm,
promote my songs and that, and some people haven't even heard them, but everybody's heard the crossbow skit and the Sebastian Singh, the Shashikaji, the Gurdwara
yeah.
Pradhan. and that was hot at the time because a lot of people were protesting in front of Gurdwara doing mixed marriages and stuff at the time. So that was a hot topic at the time. So the timing, and I didn't really expect or want that skit to go particularly viral. I literally just made it to entertain a few of my mates on
Mm.
WhatsApp, and just literally just for a laugh, just send it to a few people just for a laugh, because I do stuff like this all the time. Like I said, I'm a bit of a joker. I do stupid stuff. I do accents. I make stupid videos, and I send them to my mates. And on this particular one, I'll tell you, I didn't plan it. It was one take. Yeah, I was literally driving. I know it's bad to film and drive. I was on my way to a wedding and I had the camera phone on and I literally just did it in one take. This Sebastian Singh guy, Shishikaji, Mera naam
Mm.
Sebastian Singh hai, and this character, and then I just uploaded it for a laugh on Facebook. Bloody hell, that thing blew up.
When India,
People
innit? The Karkus were
People
after you, yeah?
that's the problem. So all the UK guys found it hilarious, yeah.
Yeah.
But when it went to India, bro, it landed in India like a lead,
Mm.
like a lead balloon, and
Well, they're
they
inquiring about you, innit? They're inquiring about you, right?
Bro, I had people
Mm.
saying कि बंदा कौन है बंदे नु लब्बो इनु आप पढ़ना है बंदा कौन
Mm.
है, they thought, एदी जरूरत किवें पई, ए जो गल्ला करन दी, you know what I mean.
Yeah.
I'd literally, it was like a massive disrespect, like a massive dishonor. And because I said stupid stuff in there. I said जेडे गोल पग्गां वाले हैगे तालिबानी, I got अपने को अपने दाढ़ियां बन के रखो and all this, and just all kinds of madness. But within the context, it had a context of a character playing a character. It just, that was lost on them. People actually thought I was a real Gurdwara Pradhan,
Yeah,
and
I
I really
know.
was, marrying giraffes and zebras in the Gurdwara. You know what I mean? And so I think some people are just fake, and some people, obviously, there's a big difference between British humor, like sort of like like sarcastic British humor, which is what I've got because I'm born and bred here, and Punjabi humor. That sarcasm, they did not get it, and I was getting phone calls, I was getting death threats, and all sorts. Yeah, it was crazy. Yeah, I didn't take
Yeah.
the video down though because it was funny, and and people told me to take it down. I said, no, I'm going to take it down.
People
Um,
still send it about, bro. You know what I mean?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
When we advertised this to talk, Jared Singh, elusive fighter, so he's messaged. So he's got a request, bro. He said, get him to say, Maharaj, bless me with the rocket launcher. Is this from one of your videos or something?
This is the crossbow guy, isn't it?
Yeah.
Jabal Khan.
Also,
Yeah.
Maharaj, bless me with your rocket launcher. If that would be beyond the Kirpa. If the Mughals walked in the office, who is going to kill them? You got to do it now for our guy because he does a lot for the
You,
punk.
you want me to say that in that voice?
Yeah, God, he's requested it.
If Maharaj don't beyond the kid upon me yet and blessed me with the safest air missile, I wouldn't say no. I know Chardi Kala Sang would say no. Got it.
Jordan,
Yeah,
elusive fighter, that's for you, bro. You know what I mean?
yeah.
Jordan's a geezer himself, man. Like, he knows how to make shuster. He
Yeah,
knows
yeah,
how to, he's teaching the kids street martial arts and stuff, good stuff.
yeah,
And
yeah.
what I like about him, yeah, he's got no filter. What Joe on that he says it, he doesn't care.
Sounds like
He's
you.
yeah,
Sounds like
yeah.
you.
He reminds me a lot of me, bro. He's got his stance. Obviously, I don't agree with all views that. Well,
Yeah,
I'm not saying I agree with views. I just can't kill animals myself. I'm not that
yeah,
type
yeah,
of guy. I'm not.
yeah, yeah,
Uh, if the time comes, I probably will. But
yeah.
like me, he's a bit stuck in 1699 because, bruv, all day I used to dream about I'm in the jungle on the tree shooting arrows to the Mughals. I'm gonna kill the Mughals. I fed up of this world. I cosplay in my head. I pretend a daydream in my head, and I live in 1699 sometimes. Yeah, I'm still wanna go back to that time. I just don't fit into this world, bro. So maybe if I don't know if I was a singer in my past life, I don't know, probably was a sinner or some cat or dog. But I'm just saying, I'm just fascinated with 1699 being in Maharaj's army, and I visualize that shit, man. I just wish, I want to be with Maharaj, looking after Gurdwara, just
You say that
killing those.
you say that, bro. Yeah, but the thing is, like, from what I know about you, like, when you do your prachar and stuff like that, you talk street. So you talk street. So you basically, your target audience is the street kids. Yeah. So that's modern. Your music that you did, all your raps, that's modern. It's in English and it's kind of up to date music. and your way of talking, your way of explaining is modern, and your the moves and stuff that you used to do, the stuff we can't really go into, was all kind of up to date skills and tactics and stuff like that. So I'd say you were probably inspired by all that kind of stuff, unless
Yeah,
unless
my
I've got it
heart.
wrong.
No, no, no. My heart's in 1699, bro. It's with the Brat and Khalsa. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah,
Just wish I could press reverse or, I don't fit into this. I could never work in an office and this, that. If I had to for the mortgage or whatever,
yeah, yeah,
would
yeah.
have done so, but it would have been hard. I just want to be, up in the fort with my teeth out and waiting for the enemies to attack or someone to do bloody me and let it off in them. You know what I mean? And I think Harjan's one of them guys, and
Bro, I think all Singhs, all Sikhs have those kind of fantasies, or
passes.
must have had it. Must have had that kind of fantasy at some kind of a stage, yeah, and stuff. It's the books, it's the Taddiwara, it's the CDs,
Yeah,
it's the pictures and stuff like that. So I do understand,
you get
but
it, innit?
I no, no,
Yeah,
of course I get it, bro. But bro, like I said, it comes back to what we talked about earlier about people staying in their lane and just not
yeah,
to. We're living in 2025. We're living in the UK and stuff like that. And if by all means, if somebody wants to live in 6099 or do an exact replica of 6099, and they're willing to deal with what comes with it, deal with the consequences legally and stuff like that, then fair play. Then as long as, but if they're not willing to deal with the consequences of living that way and stuff like that, or they're half-hearted, or it's just cosplay and stuff like that, then obviously I'm not going to tell anybody what to do. It's not my right to say to anyone, do this, do that, or think this, think that, and stuff like that. But if it was my kid who was doing that, then I might just say to them, okay, look, I'm not going to tell you what to do, but if you go down this path, the consequences are A, B, C, and if you go down this path, the consequences are X, Y, Z. I'll leave the choice to you.
yeah. So yeah, going back to Harjan and stuff, he's
Yeah,
also way ahead of his time sometimes. Like I think when I look back at my music and stuff,
yeah, yeah.
it's still relevant now. A lot of the stuff I said 20 years ago about grooming and this and that within the Sikh, people looked at me, nah, this doesn't happen. This doesn't happen. Now people come to me, man, you're way ahead of your time.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
Jordan with maybe the hunting stuff, this stuff, if it does go back to civil war and electricity is off, then Jaron's phone's going to be ringing because I don't think people are ready for his message
Who's
and
who's
stuff.
who's who, who's Seth Darlington?
Lucy Fighter, bro. His
Lucifer.
name's
Okay, yeah, yeah,
Jaron.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. No, I've heard of him. I've seen some of his stuff, and yeah, it's good. It's good, man. It's good martial arts, good variety. He does a lot of weaponry, a lot of unarmed stuff, combative stuff, and stuff like that. Some streetwise stuff in
yes,
there.
practical, innit? No mumbo jumbo and no,
Yeah, 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 yeah. To be honest with you, I think most people who are anybody that's any good, the people who are good, there tends to be a lot of overlap in their theories, and there tends to be a lot of overlap in their methods and stuff like that. So
yeah. I don't know.
I
I
think
don't know his backstory because I tried to get him on the show, but I think like he grew up in the racist times, innit, with Gore and that
yeah,
probably in
yeah.
the rough areas. You could tell he knows the streets, man. You know, and I know he knows the streets, and he knows I know the streets, and that's why we probably got mutual respect for each other. That we know what we're
100%.
talking about, innit? That it's not a game out there; it's about survival, innit? His,
See, you
I
see,
think one of
I would consider myself streetwise, yeah, even though I'm not from the streets at all. Total opposite, complete opposite. But I think that if you are interested in self-defense, self-preservation, and stuff like that, if you don't know about the streets for whatever reason, people really, really need to educate themselves about the streets, and they really need to educate themselves and be streetwise and learn how the world operates, how the world works. Because if you don't, you are at a disadvantage, massive disadvantage. You're a sitting duck. So even though I've not come from that world, I've made it my mission and my point to understand that world inside out because you have to.
100%, brother. So
And there's a lot to learn. There's a lot to learn from that world as well. People who live in hardships and people who live in certain types of communities and stuff like that. It's to understand people, you need to understand who they are, where they come from.
respect, brother. So we just I was talking about a couple of your posts on Facebook. You expose always put on the Sikh groomer, Sikh rapist, pedos. There's been a lot of that. Lot this couple 3 months there's been a lot of case study people doing that, and it's been in the national news. So yeah, so you're big on that. So explain all that, huh? But
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's not like a major cause for me or anything like that. Like I
yeah,
said, I try if possible to comment. not comment too much on the Panth and can't comment too much on Sikhi because I don't think it's my place to do so
Mm.
too much. But I do find within the Sikh community, people really, really like to kind of go after Muslim sex offenders, Muslim groomers. And I've
Mm-hmm.
always felt like, potentially there's another agenda there behind that to demonize Muslims because of, but the thing is that what I feel is that it's a little bit hypocritical because people should expose everybody and treat all sex offenders the same. There's good and bad people in all communities. And to be honest with you, if somebody is a sex offender or a paedophile, to me, it's totally irrelevant what their religious background is. And I don't care about, what people's religions might say or what people's theology might be or what's written in this book or that book or what so and so said or did 1,000 years ago. To me, every individual, you got to judge them by their behaviors and by their actions. Yeah. And so what I find is that we've developed a culture now, in the Sikh community where there's like this cover up culture, and I think you've tackled this point yourself quite a few times, where if there's a Sikh sex offender, we're gonna brush it under the carpet. Because it brings basty to the image of Sikhs and it brings basty to the Qawm. But if there's a Muslim sex offender, we're going to share it everywhere. And like I said, I feel that there's an agenda there, which goes beyond looking after children or after the welfare of children. Because if that agenda wasn't there, then they'd be exposing everyone. They'd be exposing white paedophiles, the paedophile rings, at all levels. The Sikh paedophiles. And we as Sikhs, why are we not focusing on issues which are in-house? Because most of our kids and most of our vulnerable people, majority of the time, guess what? They're around other Sikh people. So, what kind of sex offenders are they most likely to be under threat from? Guess what? Sikh sex offenders. So if we're not exposing them and we're burying that under the carpet, we're actually putting our vulnerable people more at risk, right? So number one, it's an in-house thing as a community. We really need to be calling out the gun in our community, calling out the criminals, exposing them and talking about it. It's not about saving reputation. People think, oh, Sikhadi besti hundiya and stuff like that. I don't know what world they are living in. It's not besti. It's actually it's a plus. A strong community comes together and condemns the bad eggs within their community, right? And um, and people seem very unwilling and reluctant to do that. I think people will laugh at us if we sort of wash our dirty laundry in public. That's what people say. I think people will actually commend us and compliment us for saying, you know what, these Sikhs, they call out the bad eggs and they do something about it and they expose it and they sort things out. Fair play to them. That's what I think they will say. If you develop a reputation of they brush things under the carpet, they hide it, then that's a very, very bad reputation to have, right? And it's especially dangerous if you only expose sex offenders from one particular community. That's kind of like dehumanizing the whole community. So in an ideal world, like I said, this is not my main thing. It's just a side thing. But I guess I expose. I don't expose. I just share posts. To be honest, I share posts of Sikh sex offenders and paedophiles to kind of balance it out a little bit. If
Yeah.
in an ideal, if that was my main thing, I would share the posts of all sex offenders, whatever race they are, because the race, like I
Mm.
said, is irrelevant. It's the crime that matters. I would expose all of them, but I don't really have the time to do that because it's not my main thing. But because the traffic is all one way at the moment and there's so much cover up, there's this cover up culture going on. I feel like somebody has to share the seat cases. So I know you've made that a big part of what you do, and you've been demonized for it, and you've been called an RSS agent for it, and you've been called a bunt hater for it, and all sorts. The same thing happened with Core Movement. And people don't like Suki Kaur from Sikh Women's Aid because she talks about all kinds of abuse within the Sikh community, internal stuff.
Mm.
And the thing is, people that do casework in the Sikh community, even by Singh and stuff like that, yes, he's dealt with lots of cases where Sikhs have been victim of Muslim groomers and stuff like that. If you speak to him, the majority of the cases that he's dealing with nowadays are Sikh on Sikh. If you
Yeah,
speak to
100%.
if you speak to Sikh Women's Aid, one of my good family friends, Minu, she's involved with that. It's all Sikh on Sikh. It's there's a lot of Gyani abuse going on, double R teachers, babbas, and fake prachariks, fake babbas, fake Gyanis. A lot of Singhs are doing it. They're doing it to their own family members, daughters, and stuff like that. And we're not talking about it. We're hiding it, and we actually want to hide it. And not only that, there's people out there that will literally threaten you if you expose it or you talk about it, what you're doing, why are you exposing this, what you know, and they will literally try and silence you. You know, a lot of people have had that experience. People have had big fallouts over that. You know, so you know, it's not. I do. If somebody sends me a thing, I'll share it on Insta or Facebook, and I wish more people would. I think it's a strength, not a weakness, to do that.
Yeah, so a lot of youngsters, yeah, they're struggling with the masculinity. There's this incel culture, people simp culture, people demonized for not being married. Because you know, in history there was a place for incels. I know incels used to join the army, they used to be priests and stuff like that.
Mm.
What's your advice, man? Like, is success? Do you have to be married to be successful? What's your advice? Is it obviously there's toxic masculinity? So a young lad's watching, and he doesn't want to get married, but he's seemed to be deemed to be a failure. Uh,
Are you asking me this because I'm not married?
nah, bro. That's why you ain't got no white hair, brother. If you were married, bro, your missus probably wouldn't let you do a live. She said there's gonna be too much backlash.
Yeah, it's
Are you
true.
not going on with a man that does gun fingers? You know what I mean? Because
Yeah. Yeah, they'll be
you're not
like,
going
they'll
on
be
with the
like, they'll be
RSS.
like,
You're not going on with the RSS. You know what I'm saying?
yeah, yeah, they'll be like, yeah, why you got friends like Killer for with a name like Killer? Why you
Yeah,
changing it?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Based
yeah.
inside and this and that. Yeah. So there's a young lad. He doesn't want to get married. Is it okay? Is he an incel because he doesn't want to get married? This is a complex subject. What's your view on it? Masculinity, this, all that stuff that's going on these days, man.
Bloody hell, bro! You're throwing them at me.
Mm,
Right, a lot to unpack there, bro.
mm,
Masculinity. Again, I'm going to give my view on it.
yeah,
Masculinity is essential. It's very important. Masculine energy is important.
100.
Feminine energy is very important. My view is that women used to have it hard back in the day, and they, the patriarchy, the misogyny, the it wasn't just within their families and within their homes. In society, they were literally just stopped from doing anything outside of being in the home. So I am against that. I think women should be free to do whatever they want to do. I don't think women should be controlled or stopped from doing anything. But for me, if I was ever to get married,
Mm,
I think for somebody like me, a traditional kind of a setup is what would suit me. Where I am the man, I lead. And the female plays an essential and very important role. But I would want to follow a traditional sort of setup as to how it's been for thousands of years and worked fine for thousands of years. So I feel like it's my right to have my own preference in that sense, right? And
100.
every it's up to every individual what they want for themselves. The problem is that when you say something like that, what I just said now, you'll get feminists shouting and screaming at you, foaming at the mouth, saying, "Ah, you're misogynist," just because
Mm,
you want a traditional setup and you want a traditional wife that stays at home, and people see it as a diss. People
mm.
see staying at home and being a mother as a diss now, which is an absolute
Oh, no.
disgrace. What can
Mm.
be a more important and valuable role than managing the home, managing the castle and raising children to be balanced, human beings? What can be more important than that? What's more valuable than that? So I'm in favor of traditional roles. I'm very pro masculinity. I do feel like it's all over the show now. Gender roles and stuff like that have just been
Mm.
completely
100%.
completely confused. I feel like the liberation of women is a double-edged sword. On one hand, it's very positive, but it's created lots of issues in society. It's really sort of jiggled everything up. There's like a gender war going on. Um,
Mm.
Women are at war with men and men are at war with women. And as a result of that, people just are not getting married. They don't want anything to do with each other and they're just avoiding each other. And this gender war that's going on is very, very toxic. Um, sorry about the rant. So what was the question? What did you want me to answer? What was your question?
No, you've answered it, bro. Just wanted your views on what's going on
Masculinity is very important, and I don't want to prescribe what I think masculinity is, but I feel like if you've got sons, it's very important to encourage them to be masculine and develop masculine traits. Now, there's a lot of material out there on the net and to be around wise men, wise, strong men. Fathers are very important, uncles are important, good, solid male role models are very important, because if we don't teach young males proper masculinity, then it's basically going to be left to toxic masculine figures. Without naming any names, there's a lot of celebs out there who have become role models to boys and men, and they're teaching them a lot of stuff which is just simply not acceptable according to our culture, our way of life, our lifestyle, and they're teaching them a kind of a twisted form of masculinity. So I feel like the epitome of masculinity is like this wise, what people refer to as like the wise king kind of a figure. The wise man, the wise king. The person who's as a protector, is stable, is safe, is a provider. These kind of positive attributes of masculinity is, if somebody came to me and asked me about it, that's why I guess I would be trying to promote. And and these are things which I'm trying to develop within myself. It's taken me a long time to learn it. Nobody taught me it, and it's a big issue, because when you are not taught it, it causes you to fall down on you flat on your face again and again and again. But now, sort of age 40, I've started to understand it more, started to get it more, and I wish I'd learnt about it when I was a teenager. It would have made my life much easier. And I feel like a lot of young men, a lot of young Singhs, a lot of young Sikhs are completely lost, and just completely lost. And there was a point probably when even I was lost.
Yeah, we
Um,
all, yeah. No, because when I look at the Pachar and stuff like that, and the young things on the podcast, this and that, a lot of feminine side, man. Like the way they talk, move their hands, you know, the masculinity is just not there. The way the tone of voice, the way they're speaking. I know we got to be humble, we got to be nice and stuff. We got to have that switch, Saint Soldier and this and that. But the robe ain't there, man. You don't feel safe. You just that if a chore comes, it's the woman's gonna be in front fighting the chore instead of the thing in a lot of these cases. So we do need to have.
masculinity is not promoted. It's actually
Mm,
demonized, and it starts in nursery, in school. The way
mm.
they teach kids, the values that they teach them, they literally stamp the masculinity out of them.
Oh
and
yeah.
uh, and 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 the other thing is, like, when you have single parent homes and stuff like that, I don't want to sort of criticize people's personal circumstances and stuff like that, and there might be a variety of good reasons why somebody has to be a single parent, but you need masculine energy, you need a solid father. And if you have a male and they are only raised by a female, I can see potentially that could cause them some serious problems, some serious issues. To be raised without masculine energy around them.
Yeah. You just look at all these Pachar videos, the majority of the scene, the way the young things are, bro. I wouldn't be comfortable giving my daughter to them, Hannah, because I'll be like,
Yeah,
she's gonna protect you guys, you know what I mean? Like they
yeah, yeah.
just to do this funny, that's all this like Teletubby La La Land stuff, man. And it's cringe. Uh, so something's gone wrong somewhere, and so yeah. How about what do you think? If a young lad doesn't want to get married, this and that, is he a loser? Is he lost in life? Is he not successful? What would you say to a young lad says, Uncle Subaig or Subaig, I don't want to get married, man, but everyone thinks I'm a loser. Any
Well, I'm
advice?
not. I'm not married myself, and I'm 40. So मैं उनकी
Mm,
अकल देनी. But look, biologically, people are designed to reproduce. The most natural
mm.
thing in the animal kingdom is to reproduce. In our society, the vehicle to do that is through marriage. And so I think marriage is a good thing, provided it's healthy. I think in this day and age, it's very hard to get married, especially in the West. With like I said, with the levels of confusion of gender roles and all that kind of stuff, it's not easy. And even if it's easy, even if you can get married, it's very hard to stay married. The whole social structure is just gone all over the place. Both parents have to work in order to get the income in. It's not a case of one person can earn the bread and the other person can manage the home, raise the kids. You literally, everything has to be kind of 50-50, which people say 50-50. In reality, that means 90-10, right? And
Mm.
one way or the other, but normally more one way than the other. So that 50-50 culture that we're living in, sending the kids to nursery at the age of 1, 2, and just crazy stuff like that. We're not living in a healthy culture. And so I think I can understand why people don't want to get married under the circumstances. Um, I think people ultimately they need to put themselves first, protect themselves, protect their interests, and do what's right for them.
Mm,
I think there are pros and cons to being in a relationship, being married, being not being married. I think it's entirely possible to live a life and be unmarried. I don't think we should demonize it. I don't think we should kind of ridicule it and criticize it. I think we should
yeah,
just let people live their lives, man, and
yeah.
just let
Don't put
people
pressure
be.
on them. Loads of puggards were hermits. Loads of puggards were not married, and they had this spirituality paths. Individual, like all the puggards, they had the spirituality. You doing any type of spirituality? Your search study, see what type of spirituality are you looking into? Spiritual paths and stuff. What do you normally do for spirituality? Because MMA training, all that's good, but we've got to feed our body, mind, and soul, huh?
Yeah, I meditate a lot,
Mm,
and I do a lot of healing on myself. I've got a variety of different ways of doing that, and stuff like that, and just do a bit of simmering and stuff. But a lot of introspection, a lot of meditation. Spirituality is a big part of my life. I'm not a Panjabani Nitiname type of a guy, and stuff like that. As far as the Sikhi side of stuff, if I can do 5-10 minutes of simmering and a few more mantras and stuff, I'm kind of happy with that. But I do a lot of meditation and a lot of work on myself, a lot of introspection on myself for sure.
yeah. So like any of the ladies, yeah, if you want to skip, I'll be the Wacholla. If you want to skip in the queue, use code MAO22 and I'll put you into the line. I'll forward you to the line, yeah. Because I think my phone's gonna be going off now, bro. Because yeah, I mean, people, you held yourself well. So talking about therapy, this that. Now we're gonna get onto I was suffering. I was talking to you. You said you're doing this hypnotherapy course. I was like, that's some Tom and Jerry stuff and this and that. But obviously, I know you're a serious guy. I take your word. I've got my traumas. I had my problems. You see me down there. I got my injury. I went through my divorce. Didn't see my kids much. I see them more than off quite a bit, but not. You want to be with your kids all the time, and you got attachment wounds. This ruptures, that ruptures. He
Yeah,
said, "Mal, give it a try, man. Give it a try."
yeah,
Every issue I've had so far, one session, two sessions max, used, what was the therapies we done? We done hypnotherapy, we done the other one where you play the clown music. I forgot what the therapy, mind shifting, right?
yeah, yeah,
So you'd make me think about a bad memory, play the clown music, and that will remind my brain, overlap it as a joke, like it's something, because clown music is fun, fair, it's amusement. And bro, it worked. Every time we had a session, I felt light and I couldn't feel the pain. And then you
yeah,
would
yeah,
say, oh, how's it? Is it 7 out of 10? Is it 10 out of 10? It would start from like 7 and we used to work up all the way to 0.
yeah, yeah,
And, we've had about what, 6, 7 sessions, and most of my major stuff that was, heavy on my soul with
yeah,
your
yeah,
techniques, we ride it. My son had an issue, he was a victim of a racial attack, potential racial attack in it. Obviously, I dealt with the guy after, but
mm,
at the time when my son was with me, and then he developed, social anxiety and he had a phobia. He didn't really want to go out for 9 months. We struggled to get him out of the house. So I said,
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Subaig, come and do your magic. One
yeah, yeah,
session, we've done that about a year and a half ago or 2 years. I can't remember, about a year and a half, I think. And
yeah,
he's always been at the house now. So he's at the
yeah,
house and we haven't had an issue.
yeah, yeah.
So this hypnotherapy, explain it, man. Explain what you do, what the magic you do, because I can vouch for it. Probably one of your first patients and stuff. You've just opened up this new business, so talk us through what you do. And obviously, people think hypnotherapy is just a joke. It's just this. It's much more deeper stuff to it. It doesn't actually work like that in real life. What the cartoons and TV presents on it.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, my dad learned some hypnotherapy, so I'd been exposed to hypnotherapy from a young age. And in fact, I used to use it as a study aid to help me focus before I used to sit down and study. For my GCSEs, A levels, exams. My dad used to do it to me before my MMA fights, even to get myself focused and proper in the right mindset, feeling solid, proper confident and stuff for fights. And before I used to go on stage and stuff like that. So my dad actually introduced it to me. And then when I was at university, I actually did a module in clinical hypnotherapy. So
Mm,
using hypnotherapy to treat ill people, basically. And so later in life, you know, I've had a lot of lives. You know what I mean? I've been A&E doctor for 12 years. I've done music for about 7 8 years, and I did MMA for about 3 4 years. You know, a lot of stuff. So you know, my next venture is basically hypnotherapy, and I've just opened up my clinic now in Leamington Spa. My business called Platinum Mind Therapy, and yeah, with regards to hypnotherapy, it's very very powerful. We work with the subconscious mind. We have the conscious mind, and we have the subconscious mind. The conscious mind is what we're using now to communicate with each other, which is a very very small percentage of our total brain capacity. Everything that happens in our lives and even past lives, you know, and everything that happens is stored in our subconscious mind. Everything that happens to us is recorded like CCTV, and it's all in there. And so, under putting people in a trance-like state, a very relaxed state, it's not mind control like Tom and Jerry, where I can get you to do anything that you want. That's just for show, stage hypnosis and stuff like that. This is just putting somebody in a very very relaxed state, so that you can then communicate to the deep parts of the mind that you can't communicate with normally. Um, if I was to draw a parallel to Sikh Sikh kind of or even Dharmic Indian kind of parallels, then I guess the closest thing would be like a samadhi type of a state. Is that you penetrate really really deep, you lower the brain frequency, and then we can use that for a variety of different purposes. Very very versatile. We can do it to deal with people's phobias, any phobia, any trauma, any bad experience. You know, a lot of people want it for weight loss. People want it for, you know, stop smoking. You know, performance enhancement, like I had it. So many different things. Very, very versatile tool.
What if someone stopped drinking?
Yeah, it definitely can work.
Mm.
I would say. You see, you know, when people have addictions and stuff like that, addictions to, you know, sort of drinking, smoking, drugs and stuff like that, when you ask to get rid of someone's drinking habit, you're literally asking them to kind of revamp their whole life. Because
Mm.
with regards to an addiction is basically a coping mechanism, because the person isn't happy with their life in some way. A lot of things have happened, a lot of traumas have happened, and alcohol is their escape. So it's very hard to get somebody just off alcohol unless you've literally dealt with all the different things that have happened to them, which have led them to that point. You know, all the bad experiences, all the traumas. You know, and you have to dig really, really deep into the subconscious. It might be childhood stuff. It might be stuff to do with their dad, their mum, experiences and stuff like that. So you have to really, whatever's feeding that addiction, you have to deal with those traumas first, and that can be a bit of a long process. It's very doable, very possible. But then there's another side to it. um, we have something called secondary gain. You know, we would do something called parts therapy, and we divide the subconscious mind into different parts. So there's a part of the mind which is making the person drink, and we talk to that part and we negotiate with that part. So that part, even though it's got that negative effect of making them drink, it might actually have a positive intention. You know, it might be there to protect them. It might be there to give them some kind of comfort or some happiness or something like that. So then we have to negotiate in the, you know, when they're in a trance state, talk to that part and try and get that to change its role in a different way, so that it's not making them drink. It's giving them comfort or protection in another way. Um, and You know, so there's a lot that needs to be done, I think, with regards to addiction. It's not as simple as, right, we're going to do hypnosis and you're going to stop drinking and that's the end of the matter. You have to dig quite deep and hit it from a few different angles. And I also think things like addictions, they work well alongside other things, conventional kind of rehab programs, conventional therapies, you know, your CBTs and stuff like that. I think everything kind of has to work together for the person. You know,
Yeah.
certainly some of the challenges that I've had in my life, I found that I would do hypnotherapy, I would do these alternative treatments, but it worked alongside conventional medical treatments. You know, getting vitamin D injections, iron injections, getting your health optimized, your blood tests all optimized. You know, getting good sunlight, getting good exercise, cleaning up your diet, all these things. You
100%.
know, changing your sangat. I mean, let's say somebody, for example, you sort out somebody's drinking habit, but then they still start hanging around with the same group of friends. And it's not going to be long before, you know, the vibrational energy, the sangat that they've got is going to start pushing them back down on that drinking path. It's only a matter of time. So it's like it's a full revamp and a full lifestyle revamp, that needs to be done in my view.
No, because my mate Cam Samurai, innit, he does all this alcohol rehab. He
Yeah.
can help out with that sometimes. Look, if anyone wants help, you can contact Subaig on his Insta. But I'm also gonna put when I upload this video, I want to put your website down in it so people can holler.
It does require people who
Mm,
take accountability, very, very sort of self-motivated people. Um,
100%, hundred percent.
this is not for the half-hearted or people who are kind of in two minds, or yeah, I'll just give that a go. This is for people who are really determined that they want to stop.
Change their
Yeah,
life. Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
We've got a question coming in. I'll turn the comments back on.
Go on.
We've got one question that's in the question thing. Cam Samra just joined. We just mentioned you, bro. The question is, that's what you aim to do. But how do you aim to do it? Someone's asked a question. That's what I'm a bit lost. Guys, the comments are back on, bro. If anyone's got any questions, we'll wrap it up, man. I think we've covered a lot and it's intense, man. There's like a lot of content and information there. So the comments will just come back on. What's anyone saying? I can't. Respect, Cam Samurai. Yeah, respect, brother.
Yep.
Subaig does the hypnotherapy. Therapy. If you've got any sort of camp or whatever, you wanted to come down and give a talk, and
Yeah.
just holler. Any questions, and guys? Anyone that's joined? Any questions for Subaig Singh? Any chance of the Trent boiling up, RG?
Nah, man.
Not after the hypnotherapy
Nah.
talk. You missed the spot. We didn't. We should have put the questions on after the comedy skit, innit?
Yeah.
How would you integrate hypnotherapy into normal? I don't know how to read that, man.
Yeah, I wouldn't. I'd leave that to the client or the individual to see somebody who does CBT. I would only just stick to the hypnotherapy. If I'm giving general advice, my general advice would be to see somebody for CBT and stuff like that. But I personally don't integrate it in.
Satya Singh, do more videos, man. We love you. Minu Kaur said, we love you, Subaig.
We love you too, Minu.
Yeah, Core A Night joined. Ranj wants to join. I know Ranj actually. I'll accept him. He's a good guy. Let's see what he's saying. It seems to be a big fan. He shared your stuff.
Ah, bless. Respect.
Yeah. Subaig, come back for one more song. It's got to be a folk song. Give that Ranj. Respect, brother. Ranj? Oh, he's gone off.
Okay.
Stage fright. Best live I've seen, man. So insightful. Respect, brother. Respect, bro. Respect,
Thank you,
brother.
brother. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Out Control 55. Any questions for the MMA fighter, ex-Bhangra, ex-comedian, now hypnotherapy, about to change lives? Thank you both, Dr. K. Tucker. Thank you for the respect. Do you get any negativity with regard to Sikhi clashing? It doesn't really clash with hypnotherapy, from my view. You can answer that, Subaig.
Do you get any negativity with regards to Sikhi clashing with hypnotherapy? Only with people who don't know what hypnotherapy is.
100.
Yeah. Sikhi doesn't clash with hypnotherapy, man. Sikhi is Bhakti. It's Simran. It's a fast track to becoming one with God. Hypnotherapy is to deal with your traumas, to deal with your performance issues, to deal with your bad habits, and it's a therapy tool, completely different. So in terms of somebody saying it clashes because it's focusing ultimately on Maya, it's incorrect focus.
Nah, I've had
Yeah.
hypnotherapy. It solved my trauma. It's
Really,
nothing to do with Maya.
the thing is, yeah, look, the thing is, right, hypnotherapy is not for you then, Hannah. So hypnotherapy is for the people that want hypnotherapy. If you want hypnotherapy, come to me. If you don't want hypnotherapy, then don't come to me.
It does, because contracts, which ultimately only God holds all the solutions. So that means when you fall over, don't get a plaster. If you get shot, don't get an ambulance.
Yeah,
Just lay
that's
there.
stupid.
Yeah,
Yeah.
hypnotherapy is
Don't get
rewiring the brain.
don't get a blood transfusion.
Yeah, it might work, but don't claim it doesn't clash. No, it
Yeah,
doesn't clash, bro.
my
No,
view is it doesn't clash.
it doesn't clash. You know what I mean? That means looking at the road when you cross the road, it clashes with Sikhi because you should just go because you're not meant to die that day. You know what I mean? It's the
Yeah,
people just don't understand what hypnotherapy is.
yeah. Chalo, theek hai. This Singh has made his point, and fair play. That's
So,
his view.
wicked. Then we'll call it a day. Respect people. Thanks a bit for your time, bro. People,
Thank
said
you very
this
much.
thing. I'll book in with you, bro. Someone's gonna book in. Yeah, just contact Subaig. And then Satya Singh said 7 p.m. Sunday, more lives. Yeah, you know what, bro, Satya? I'm gonna change the time. We should do it Thursday 8. So I'm just gonna do it 7 on Sundays. Cheers. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Take care.
Cheers, bro.
Pleasure.
Play.